Chapter 1690. When she heard that, Yi Qianqian turned her head. Shen Jielia seemed to have said it casually and didn't look at her. When he sensed her gaze, he turned his head. Yi Qianqian pouted and turned her head away with a look of disgust. "You're so shameless. Who wants to have a wedding with you?" Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian turned her head. "What? Yi Qianqian wants to have a wedding with me." The smile on Shen Jilia's face widened. There was a hint of longing on his exquisite and beautiful face. There will be such a day. The golden sunlight shone on his face, and it seemed to be plated with a layer of golden light. In the distance, the church bell rang softly and slowly. It was sacred and slow, accompanied by the pious singing of the believers. Everything was too beautiful to be true. Yi Qianqian stared at Shen Jilia for a long time, and her face grew hotter and hotter. She said, "It's too early to say that." "It's not early. Look at how old you are. You're a 26-year-old woman, and you're still unmarried. Isn't it embarrassing?" In an instant, all the good things had been fed to the dogs. Yi Qianqian clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. She turned her head and roared, "Shen Jilia, aren't you also 27 years old? It's not like you're walking around with two screaming children. What's there to be proud of?" When Shen Jilia saw that, he turned his head away in disgust. "Screaming is for leopards and tigers. How can a human child scream like that? How uncultured." "You know so much. If you have the guts, bring me a couple." "Here." Shen Jilia pointed to a boat not far away. Yi Qianqian followed Shen Jilia's finger and saw a family of 3. The blonde baby was lying at the stern of the boat and looking at the two of them. When Shen Jilia pointed at him, he giggled and waved at them. Yi Qianqian was infected by his smile, and her heart softened. She said, "Hello." The parents on the other side seemed to notice them. They picked up the baby and waved at them to teach him how to speak. Yi Qianqian couldn't understand Italian at all. But when she saw them laughing, she smiled and waved at them. "Do you know what they're talking about? Why are you laughing?" Shen Jilia leaned over and wrapped his arm around Yi Qianqian's waist as he waved at the child. The parents looked at each other. Soon after, the husband and wife said something to each other, and then they laughed together. She turned her head to look at Shen Jilia and asked, "What are they laughing at?" "They're probably laughing at us for pretending to be friendly and greeting them even though we don't understand them." "I don't think so. I think they might think that we two Asians look good." He leaned over and called out, "Yi Qianqian. How can your skin be so thick?" Yi Qianqian glared at him and pinched his hand. "You're rebelling." "Ouch!" Shen Jilia wailed. "It hurts. It hurts." "Serves you right." The child in front of her laughed even louder. Yi Qianqian turned her head to take a look. Feeling a little embarrassed, she shouted, "Look! The child is laughing at you." Shen Jilia reached out and pulled her face toward him. He planted a kiss on her lips and said, "You're the one who's laughing." Yi Qianqian was suddenly kissed. She pushed him away and said, "We're on the street and there are children." "It's okay. This is Italy. Children are used to it." Chapter 1691. "It's not that easy," Shen Jilia said as he caught a glimpse of a charming building. He pointed to it and said, "Let's get on land." There were many unique streets in Venice. The most famous one was the shopping street. Yi Qianqian and Shen Jilia shopped around. Yi Qianqian bought a few unique and beautiful things and began to feel sleepy. She looked at the time and saw that it was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon. "Shen Jilia, let's go eat. We'll go back to sleep after eating." "Hungry." "Hungry and sleepy." Shen Jilia looked at her and agreed. He took her back to the hotel. There were many good food and fun places near the hotel. After eating and drinking, Yi Qianqian had no more energy to play. She was extremely sleepy. She looked at the time. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. In other words, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning in China. She didn't sleep much on the plane. No wonder she was so sleepy. Yi Qianqian went back, found some clothes, and took a shower. Then, she lay down on the bed and ignored Shen Jilia. After Shen Jilia finished his shower, he looked at the sofa and then the room. He frowned deeply. He looked around and was a little hesitant. He didn't want to sleep on the sofa. It was too unfair to be a director. But if he slept in the room, would Yi Qianqian hit him when she woke up? It was fine if she hit him, but would it be awkward when they met again in the future? This, Shen Jilia hesitated again and again, but in the end, he didn't dare to go up. He obediently slept on the sofa in the living room, but he felt uncomfortable all over. Yi Qianqian slept until midnight and wanted to go to the bathroom. The bathroom was outside the living room, and there was no bathroom in the room. Yi Qianqian walked out and saw Shen Jilia sleeping on the sofa with his legs up in the air. The temperature in the room was a little low. Shen Jilia was only wearing a singlet and no quilt. His breathing was steady. Yi Qianqian shivered just walking out. What's more, Shen Jilia had slept there for so long. But after looking around, she didn't find anything like a blanket. Finally, Yi Qianqian found that the air conditioning in the room could be adjusted, so she walked out with a quilt. It was the only quilt in the room, and it was big and heavy. Yi Qianqian was struggling to carry it. She walked slowly to the living room before she carried the blanket out and placed it aside. She was panting from the burden of the blanket. As expected of a five-star hotel, even the quality of the blankets was so thick. She had been busy for half a day, but the dead man had no intention of waking up. Yi Qianqian felt a little angry. She flung the blanket and covered him with it. Shen Jilia was sleeping soundly. When he was suddenly awakened, he was startled awake. Then, he flipped over and almost fell down. It was only when he focused his eyes that he saw Yi Qianqian. Between him and Yi Qianqian was a huge pile of blankets. Shen Jilia sat up and patted his head. What's wrong? To cover you with a blanket. Yi Qianqian's heart was filled with resentment. Do you know how heavy this blanket is? Shen Jilia could feel it firsthand. He reached out and weighed it in his hand. He nodded and said, "It's quite heavy." Yi Qianqian snorted and stomped back to her room. Her only blanket was gone. She had no choice but to adjust the temperature in the room to 28 degrees before lying down. Shen Jilia stood outside. He looked down at the blanket and blinked. That's not right. It's really not right. If the blanket was given to her, then what was she going to do? Chapter 1692. Yi Qianqian had just laid down when she heard a knock on the door. Shen Jilia held a thick blanket in his arms and looked at the door. After knocking twice, he retracted his hand. What was he trying to do? She instinctively wanted to knock on the door, but what would she do after that? Just as Shen Jilia was considering letting it go, the door to the room opened. Yi Qianqian looked at Shen Jilia and especially at the blanket. She blinked and asked, "What's up?" "Well, you gave me the blanket. What are you going to sleep on?" "I'll sleep on the bed. I'll just adjust the air conditioning in the room a little higher. It'll be fine." "That won't do. There's no use in raising the temperature of the air conditioning. No blanket means no blanket. What if you catch a cold when you sleep like this?" "How could I catch a cold so easily?" Yi Qianqian thought silently. When she saw Shen Jilia's expression, she suddenly remembered the consequences of not drying her hair and catching a cold the last time. She silently swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue and said, "It should be fine. Won't you catch a cold easily outside?" Shen Jilia's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly had a bold idea. He stared at her and couldn't bring himself to say it in the end. He looked down at the blanket and said, "I'm a man. It'll be fine. I'll help you put the blanket in. It's quite heavy." Yi Qianqian was speechless. What a stubborn man. She had already said that. Couldn't he just go with the flow and say something else? Why did he have to think about a blanket like that? Yi Qianqian was a little annoyed. She really wanted to break open his head to see if it was filled with glue or water. Shen Jilia gritted his teeth and turned away. After putting the blanket on the bed, he was in no hurry to leave. He slowly unfolded the blanket and spread it again. The process took a full minute. Yi Qianqian felt a little uncomfortable. She stood by the door for a while before gently closing it. She glanced at Shen Jilia and realized that he wasn't paying attention to her. Her heart skipped a beat. She felt guilty for doing something bad. She took a few steps forward and threw herself on the bed. Yi Qianqian lifted the blanket and crawled in. "I'm going to sleep," she said. Shen Jilia felt a little defeated when he saw that. When he turned his head, He saw that the door had already been closed. He was stunned. Then, Shen Jilia realized that Yi Qianqian was sleeping on the other side of the bed instead. What does that mean? The bold idea in Shen Jilia's mind became more and more turbulent, and his heart beat faster and faster. In the end, Shen Jilia held his breath. Slowly and stealthily, he lifted the blanket and laid down. Sense of guilt, as if he had done something wrong, instantly engulfed him. However, when he heard the soft breathing sound next to him, he felt an indescribable joy and satisfaction in his heart. He quietly moved over and got closer. Very good. Yi Qianqian did not respond. Shen Jilia gently turned around and looked at the back of her head. He took a deep breath and clearly smelled the faint fragrance on her body. Yi Qianqian's eyes were tightly shut. When she sensed his approach, her entire body tensed up. However, when she sensed that he wasn't getting any closer, she felt a faint sense of defeat. Blockhead. Sigh, how did she end up with such a boyfriend? If she hadn't closed the door, this guy wouldn't have dared to lie down. Did he want her to take the initiative? Pooh. Chapter 1693. Perhaps he hadn't gotten over his role yet. As Yi Qianqian thought about it, she became more and more energetic. There was still no movement behind her. Slowly, she turned around. Shen Jilia appeared a little reserved. He shrank into a corner and didn't overstep. The distance between them was the width of a pillow. At that moment, Shen Jilia had already fallen asleep and was breathing evenly. Yi Qianqian relaxed. She closed her eyes and quickly fell asleep. When he sensed that she had fallen asleep, Shen Jilia opened his eyes again. He slowly approached her and gently hugged her shoulders. It was a dreamless night. Venice was 6 hours later than China. Before the sun rose, Yi Qianqian had already woken up naturally. When she opened her eyes, she saw Shen Jilia's face right in front of her. Yi Qianqian was startled, and her body trembled slightly. The small commotion woke Shen Jilia up with a start. When he saw that she had obviously just woken up, he gently released her and stretched his back. Morning. Yi Qianqian got up with a start and got out of bed. She quickly opened the door and ran out. Shen Jilia chuckled. He was in a good mood. Her warmth was still on his hands, and her scent was still on the bed. It felt good. Shen Jilia slowly got up and put on his slippers to walk out. Yi Qianqian had already hidden herself in the bathroom. She looked at herself. There was no eye wax, no saliva, and no bad breath. Very good. Yi Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. Her heart felt as if it had been bitten by ants. It itched and she was extremely happy. Lying on the same bed for one night, rounding it up, would be considered as having had sex. This was a breakthrough development. Good. Yi Qianqian hummed a little tune as she began to wash up. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. Her joy was self-evident. When she went out, Shen Jilia was on the phone. From his tone, he seemed to be talking to an elder at home. When he saw Yi Qianqian, Shen Jilia suddenly broke into a bright smile and said, "Grandma, she's here. I'll put her on the phone." Yi Qianqian was stunned. She blinked and pointed to herself. "Your grandma?" "My grandma heard that I went overseas with my girlfriend and wanted to talk to you for a while." His grandma. Wasn't she the old lady who had bullied Yi Yu so badly? She was very nervous, but since Shen Jilia had already said so, she couldn't refuse. With a bitter expression, Yi Qianqian took it and said in a fawning manner, "Hello, Grandma." When old Mrs. Shen heard the young girl's voice, she was overjoyed. She smiled brightly and laughed amiably. "Hey, are you Qianqian? Gosh, I keep hearing Jilia mention you. This is the first time he's so interested in a girl. I thought he was going to be single for the rest of his life. It's all thanks to you, Qianqian." Ha ha. Yi Qianqian giggled. She didn't know what else to say. She looked at Shen Jilia for help. Shen Jilia's smile deepened. He took the phone from her and said, "Grandma, I'm shy. I can't talk to you anymore. We're going to have breakfast." When old Mrs. Shen heard this, she instinctively glanced at the time. It was already past noon. There must be a story behind this. Could it be that this brat was already conscious enough to start cooking? Chapter 1694. When Shen Jilia heard that, he subconsciously glanced at Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian heard a little of it and blushed. Shen Jilia immediately said with a straight face, "Grandma, what are you thinking? We are very serious. It's only 6 o'clock in Venice. Let's go for breakfast." Ha! There's still a time difference? The disappointment in old Mrs. Shen's voice was obvious. You might as well sleep until midnight. If the young lady is willing to travel with you alone, it means she's willing to be with you. Do whatever you want. Don't suppress your nature, young man. This time, it wasn't just Yi Qianqian. Even Shen Jilia felt his face heat up. He coughed awkwardly and said, "You're too old. I'm hanging up." Old Mrs. Shen's words were very straightforward. Shen Jilia blushed a little. Yi Qianqian pretended not to hear and turned around. "I'm going to get changed." Then he walked into the room. He was very fast. Shen Jilia couldn't help but recall what his grandmother had just said. If the young lady is willing to travel with you alone, it means she's willing to be with you. That was the logic, but would it really work when it came to Yi Qianqian? Shen Jilia began to have doubts. After washing up, Shen Jilia changed into a fresh set of clothes and went to enjoy an Italian breakfast. After breakfast, Yi Qianqian dragged Shen Jilia to the church. There was a church in Venice that was said to have the most history in all of Italy. St. Mark's Basilica. Yi Qianqian walked around and saw the history of St. Mark's Basilica. The history was laid out in front of her. Yi Qianqian found it a little strange and secretly clicked her tongue. You can search the history on Baidu. I won't post it. I don't want to be accused of making up the number of words. After reading it, Yi Qianqian's heart was filled with emotion. How could this work? Shen Jilia was much calmer and said, "This church won't do." "What? You can't get married in this kind of church." He looked so serious that Yi Qianqian thought he was going to say something serious. When she heard that, Yi Qianqian said, "Of course the marriage should be done in China. How can you get married abroad?" "Well, that makes sense." Shen Jilia put his arm around her shoulder and said, "I actually think so too." "Go, lackey. I'm being serious." Shen Jilia put his arm around her shoulder and said in a frivolous manner, "Actually, I like Chinese weddings. My grandmother is quite superstitious. She always thinks of herself as a demigod. You know, this has to do with our ancient Chinese traditions. My grandmother actually rejected church weddings." Yi Qianqian had heard Yi Yuyu mention the phrase, half-fairy, before. He also heard that this old lady sometimes looked a little frivolous, but in fact, she was very mysterious. Especially since he had said that Yi Yuyu was destined to marry twice. In the past, when Yi Yuyu and Shen Luoan were still together, Yi Qianqian had scoffed at it. However, after witnessing Yi Yuyu's divorce from Shen Luoan and her marriage to Li Jinnan, Yi Qianqian didn't dare to underestimate her anymore. It was better to believe that it was true than not. Chapter 1695. You really didn't go? Really? Shen Jilia nodded his head. But in the end, the wedding didn't go through, and that incident even happened. Yi Qianqian nodded her head. She suddenly thought of something and said, "Your grandmother is so mysterious. Couldn't she have predicted that Guan Kui would cause trouble at the wedding? If your grandmother had known earlier, this wouldn't have happened, and your brother wouldn't have spent so much time in jail for nothing." I've already said that she's a demigod. A demigod is unpredictable. If she could predict everything, wouldn't she be an immortal? That's true. Has your grandmother ever told you when you're going to get married? No. It's weird. She always predicted the fate of others, but she never predicted the fate of our family. Yi Qianqian felt her hair stand on end. I think it's true. Besides, doesn't fortune-telling differentiate between close and distant relatives? It's normal for people like you, who are directly related by blood, to be unable to predict it. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. Shen Jilia looked surprised and said, "Wow, you're quite perceptive. When you meet my grandmother later, she'll probably put you under her wing." I don't want to be a charlatan. Haha. I'm hungry. Let's go eat. Shen Jilia held Yi Qianqian in his arms and went to a random restaurant on the street. Most restaurants in Italy were more elegant. Even the waiters were very good-looking. They were all tall and strong, with blonde hair and blue eyes. They were so handsome that they could make one's eyes water. Yi Qianqian's eyes were glued to them. Her soul almost left her body. As Shen Jilia ate, he said, "Don't be fooled by their good looks. They're actually here to trick you into spending money." Sure enough, his words came true. Very quickly, a handsome young man sensed Yi Qianqian's gaze and walked over to her. In English he asked, "Beautiful lady, would you like a drink?" Yi Qianqian was intoxicated by the sight and asked, "What drinks do you have?" Shen Jilia's expression darkened. He said, "No, thank you." He reached out to pat Yi Qianqian and said, "What's there to look at? Stop looking." Yi Qianqian ignored him. She swatted his hand away and said, "Ignore him." The handsome young man smiled elegantly and politely introduced himself. Yi Qianqian moved closer and closer to him, her eyes fixed on his face. Shen Jilia's face darkened. "Yi Qianqian." Yi Qianqian acted as if she hadn't seen it and asked, "Oh, I don't know. Tell me what's good to drink." "Our signature drink is the appointment of romance. 50 euros a cup. Would you like one?" 50 euros. F***CK. This is daylight robbery. Shen Jilia tugged at Yi Qianqian and said, "It's almost $400. Are you going to buy it?" Yi Qianqian was shocked when she heard the price. She blinked and asked, "So expensive?" The handsome young man chuckled and said, "It's as beautiful as you." Beautiful things are worth everything to have. Oh dear. Yi Qianqian's heart was about to melt. When she saw his mesmerizing smile, she reached out a finger and said, "Can I have a glass?" "Sure. Please wait for a moment." The handsome young man quickly walked away. When Yi Qianqian turned her head, she saw that Shen Jilia's face had darkened. Yi Qianqian had never seen such an expression on Shen Jilia's face before. She coughed lightly and said guiltily, "Well, I just wanted to experience what a $400 drink tastes like." Chapter 1696. No, you misunderstand me. I really just want to try a drink that costs more than $400. Yi Qianqian looked at Shen Jilia with a serious expression and said, "Have you ever tried a drink that costs $400? Shen Jilia saw her serious expression and pursed his lips in silence. After a long time, he finally calmed down and said, "Good-looking men are just trying to fool you. Stay away from good-looking men in the future." "I won't. There's an exception." Yi Qianqian looked at him and smiled flatteringly. "You see, aren't you very nice to me?" Shen Jilia couldn't keep a straight face after being praised so abruptly, but he had to keep a straight face. Holding back his laughter, he said, "There's only one person in the world. Everyone else, stay away from me." Okay. When Yi Qianqian saw that he was no longer angry, she giggled and ate a mouthful of noodles. She said, "But this drink is really expensive. I don't know what it looks like, but it costs $400. My heart aches." "Do you regret it?" "Yes." Yi Qianqian nodded pitifully. Shen Jilia snorted softly. "You're not too stupid after all. Since you want it, just keep it. Anyway, it's a rare opportunity. As long as you're happy." Yi Qianqian looked at Shen Jilia in front of her and put her palms together. She was touched and said, "Shen Jilia, you're an angel. Go away. Stop being disgusting. Eat your food." Yi Qianqian chuckled and lowered her head to eat obediently. After all, she was in the wrong in the first place. A wise man submits to circumstances. It's always good to have a good attitude. However, after they ate for a while, they saw the handsome young man return. "Hello, Mississippi." Yi Qianqian saw the tall and straight figure, and her eyes were once again intoxicated. She said, "You're back." The handsome young man nodded gracefully and said, "Please sign your name here. May I ask, what is the relationship between you and this person?" As he spoke, he pointed to Shen Jilia. Shen Jilia's expression didn't look too good from the moment the waiter appeared. When he heard the question, he spoke first and said calmly, "I'm her boyfriend." The waiter immediately understood and asked, "Are the two of you from Huaxia?" "Yes." "May I know your surname?" "Shen. Her surname is Yi." The waiter nodded and began to explain, "Sir, your girlfriend's purchase of the Covenant of Romance has taken effect. Both of you have a 5-year agreement with our restaurant. As he spoke, the handsome boy took out 2 key rings. The key ring was exquisitely made, and the name of the restaurant was engraved on it. Today, 5 years later, you might have married this lady and given birth to a cute baby, or maybe you two aren't together, but we will keep this memory for you. When the time comes, you can show us this key card. This will be a very romantic agreement. Yi Qianqian took the key card and suddenly understood. That's why it's called a romantic engagement. Yes, miss, I am willing to wait for your beauty in this place for 5 years. 5 years later, you and I will have a completely new appearance. The handsome young man was elegant and gentlemanly as he gently extended his hand. Such a noble and beautiful gesture melted Yi Qianqian's heart. He reached out and gently placed his hand on hers. The handsome boy immediately bent down. But before he could kiss her, a hand stopped him in the middle. When he turned around, Shen Jilia's expression didn't look too good. He said, Huaxia people don't like it when other men kiss their women. Death. Chapter 1697. When the handsome young man heard Shen Jilia's possessive words, he immediately smiled and apologized. I'm sorry, sir. When it comes to beautiful things, people can't help themselves. Yi Qianqian didn't know much English, so she didn't quite understand what he was saying. But when he heard the word beautiful, his heart bloomed with joy. Her smile froze, and she looked at Shen Jilia with a hint of smugness. She said, Look, this foreigner has good taste. He could tell that I'm a peerless beauty with just one look. Shen Jilia couldn't bear to look at her. He turned his head around and said angrily, Save it. She's doing this to earn your money 5 years from now. What beauty? It's all fake. It doesn't exist. Hey, you're blind and you don't allow others to speak the truth? Who are you? What kind of truth is that? He's deceiving his conscience and lying to you. Do you really think that he has a foreigner's sense of beauty? That's why he thinks an Asian girl is beautiful? Wake up, it's fake. F***CK. Shen Jilia, do you have a death wish? Yi Qianqian's voice wasn't soft, and the people around her looked over. Shen Jilia looked around and smiled sheepishly. He pulled Yi Qianqian aside and said, We're in public. Can't you be a little more civil? Don't curse at the drop of a hat. It'll be awkward if you bump into your fellow countrymen. Yi Qianqian took the opportunity to pull him over and pinch his arm. Shen Jilia wailed, but he didn't dare to make a sound. His face turned red. The handsome young man at the side could not help but smile. Yi Qianqian didn't notice it. She glared at him and said, You still know how to be embarrassed? What if your fellow countrymen see you talking about your girlfriend like that? If they learn from you and end up falling out with your family, you'll become a sinner for all eternity. You're such a cheap mouth. Shen Jilia turned his head to look at Yi Qianqian pitifully and said, Can't you loosen your grip a little? Look at how others are imitating you when they see you like this. If they all go home and abuse you, won't that be even worse? Does it hurt? Shen Jilia immediately nodded his head in grievance. Yeah, serves you right. Yi Qianqian twisted him again before she managed to push him away. Shen Jilia rubbed his hands, which were stinging from the pinching, and said, You're too cruel. This is domestic violence. Serves you right. If you were afraid, you wouldn't marry me. If you marry me, I'll pinch you every day, every day. I'll pinch you until your body is swollen and you'll die of pain. Shen Jilia no longer felt the pain. He walked past the handsome young man and leaned forward. He reached out and wrapped his arms around Yi Qianqian's waist. Yi Qianqian turned and looked around. She warned in a low voice, Get lost. What are you doing? Then I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you in the future. The corners of Shen Jilia's mouth widened into a grin, revealing his pearly white teeth. He looked a little silly. Yi Qianqian's face heated up, and her body tensed up. Was this guy serious? He really wanted to marry her? Thinking about how he went to her house, asked her out, and talked about her with his grandmother. When all the connections were put together, Yi Qianqian's heart skipped a beat. However, a look of disdain immediately appeared on her face. She bumped into him and said, I'm not going to pinch you anymore. I'm not going to pinch you anymore. Scram, scram. How can you do that? You're acting like a hooligan, buddy. So what if I'm acting like a hooligan? I like it. Scram. Yi Qianqian pushed him away. Her face was getting redder and redder. Chapter 1698. Yi Qianqian felt even more embarrassed. She lowered her head, pushed him away and sat down. The handsome boy took out a wooden board with the date and date written on it. It was 5 years from today. Yi Qianqian wrote her name in Chinese. Shenjilia took it and wrote, "Baby, Daddy knew you'd come, Shenjilia." Yi Qianqian looked at it and said, "Hey, what if you don't come with me in 5 years? Won't it be awkward to see this board?" "No, I'll definitely come with you, and I'll bring a child with me." Shenjilia gestured in front of him. "It's this big. I'll hold it in my arms, and then we'll have a romantic date for 30 to 50 years. Yeah, life will be perfect." Shenjilia's wild and unrealistic words were all about the beautiful future he had planned for her. Yi Qianqian's heart seemed to be gently stirred by something, and an indescribable throbbing rippled in her heart. Seeing that Yi Qianqian was in a daze, Shenjilia quietly leaned over and whispered, "Are you very touched?" Yi Qianqian's throbbing was scared away. She waved her hand disdainfully and said, "Feel your ass." Shenjilia dodged in time and laughed. "All right, let's go back after dinner. Aren't you tired after playing all day?" "No, I want to see the night view. I heard that Venice is very beautiful at night." Yi Qianqian looked at Shenjilia with a yearning expression. "It's very beautiful." "Okay." Shenjilia went back to sit down. When he looked up, he saw a waitress carrying a tray over and placing a glass of blue liquid in front of Yi Qianqian. "Your drink. Promise of romance." As soon as the drink was placed on the table, Yi Qianqian felt her eyes light up. The design of the glass was very special. There was a white light at the bottom of the glass, illuminating the floating silver stars in the blue liquid. It was like the stars in the night sky. It was so beautiful that it was hard to take one's eyes off it. "It's so beautiful." Yi Qianqian stared at the drink in front of her. Her eyes were full of amazement. It was a dark-colored drink, but it was as beautiful as the Milky Way in the night sky. Yi Qianqian picked up her phone and took several photos. She added filters to make them even more beautiful. "Wow, it's great." Promise of Romance was really worthy of this name. Beautiful and romantic. Yi Qianqian posted it on her WeChat Moments with the caption, "5 years, our romantic engagement." After she was done, Yi Qianqian picked up the straw and put it in. He had just taken a whiff, but it didn't seem to have any taste. But in the middle of the drink, a layer of white seemed to float. Like cream. Yi Qianqian held the drink in her mouth. After a while, she felt a cooling sensation. The texture was amazing. Yi Qianqian had never had such a special drink before. It tasted like mint, but it also had a hint of creamy sweetness. "It's delicious!" Yi Qianqian exclaimed. "It's just a little expensive." Shenjilia reached out his hand. "Let me have a taste." "No. I'll pay the bill." Yi Qianqian immediately handed the cup over and said flatteringly, "Please have a drink." Shenjilia chuckled. He accepted the straw and took a sip. There was indeed something special about it. It was cool, fragrant, and sweet. He smacked his lips and looked up, only to see a strange expression on Yi Qianqian's face. What happened? Chapter 1699. Shenjilia looked down and burst out laughing. He said, "So what if you've drunk it? We've already kissed. What's there to be afraid of?" Yi Qianqian felt a little uncomfortable when she heard that. Although it was the truth, saying it out loud. Why did it feel so strange? Shenjilia clearly saw her face turn red. She looked as if she had seen a ghost. He said, "Are you shy?" Yi Qianqian was furious when she heard that and retorted, "Shy my ass. TSK. What's there to be shy about? We're a couple. Don't be afraid." Shenjilia waved his hand and took another 2 sips. Yi Qianqian felt her heart ache. "Give it back to me. Leave some for me." Shenjilia was indifferent. In the end, Yi Qianqian had to step forward and pull it off. She drank it in one gulp. Not long after, Yi Qianqian felt a little dizzy, and her face was a little hot. When she walked out of the restaurant, a warm breeze blew, and Yi Qianqian felt a little tipsy. Was there alcohol in the drink? Why do I feel like I drank too much? Yi Qianqian's footsteps became a little crooked as she walked. She turned her head to look at Shen Jielia and suddenly said, "You didn't do something to the drink, did you?" Shen Jielia reached out to support her. The words that were on the tip of his tongue were swallowed back by her words. The expression on his face was one of helplessness and despair. He said, "If I wanted to do anything to you, do you think you'd still be alive today? You're too naive." "Then why do I feel so dizzy? It's like I drank alcohol. I just ate red wine snails." "Oh. But would you get drunk with that little bit of alcohol?" "No. Maybe the drink just now had alcohol in it." Shen Jielia glanced at her. "Don't worry. I don't need to drug you." D***MN. What do you mean by that? Yi Qianqian raised her fist and waved it. Shen Jielia held her little fist and said helplessly, "Stop fooling around. If you're not feeling well, go back first." "Humph. You'll definitely do something to me when we get back to the hotel." "Bah! Do you really think I'm so hungry that I can't be choosy? Dream on." Shen Jilia's face was full of disdain. "Why don't you walk back by yourself?" No. Hold me. I'm dizzy." Yi Qianqian twisted her body, placed her hands on his shoulders, and rubbed her body against his. Yi Qianqian's body felt warm and soft. Caught off guard, Shen Jilia was brushed against a few times, and his body tensed up slightly. He quickly pushed her lightly and said, "Calm down." Yi Qianqian's head was spinning. It felt like she had drunk several glasses of white wine. There must be alcohol in that drink. There wasn't any problem when he drank it, but he didn't expect there to be a backlash. Yi Qianqian frowned at his gentle push and asked, "You drank it too? Are you feeling dizzy too?" "Are you kidding me? I'm from the north. I can hold my liquor much better than you. Let me carry you." With that, Shen Jilia carried her in his arms. Yi Qianqian smiled drunkenly and said, "Carry me." She leaned against him with a clear conscience and wrapped her arms around his neck. A pair of eyes stared straight at his chin. His skin was smooth, and there was a faint layer of green. It was very clean and fair. His face made one feel comfortable, like the sun shining brightly. Yi Qianqian stared at him and leaned forward to kiss him. Shen Jilia's hand trembled, and he almost threw her away. Chapter 1700. Yi Qianqian noticed his reaction and burst out laughing. She found it amusing, so she raised her head and kissed him again. This time, Shen Jilia was prepared, so he didn't have any reaction. He deliberately glanced at her with a straight face and said, "Are you going to come down yourself, or do you want me to throw you down?" Yi Qianqian quickly wrapped her arms around his neck and closed her eyes. Shen Jilia walked toward the shore step by step. Because it was night time, there were many more water taxis. Shen Jilia gave the address of the hotel and carried Yi Qianqian in to lie down. As soon as she got on the boat, Yi Qianqian immediately got up. She didn't look as weak as before. Shen Jilia was so angry that he laughed and said, "Are you messing with me?" Yi Qianqian turned her head and chuckled. Shen Jilia then realized that her face was completely red. From her cheeks to her forehead, it was a clear sign that she had been drinking. He reached out to touch her face. It was warm. Yi Qianqian slapped his hand away in disgust. She leaned against the window and looked out. The water taxis shuttled through various waterways. Everywhere they went, the scenery outside was brilliant. The clear and deep water reflected the dazzling lights of various colors. It was so fast that Yi Qianqian felt like she was in a dream. Her head was dizzy. Shen Jilia supported her from behind, afraid that she would lose her balance and fall. Yi Qianqian, on the other hand, was steady. She leaned against the window with an intoxicated look on her face. It took about 20 minutes to reach their destination. Yi Qianqian saw that everything had stopped and turned her head to look behind her. Shen Jilia paid the taxi fare. When he noticed her gaze, he snorted with an indescribable emotion. Then, he turned around and opened the door. Shen Jilia looked at Yi Qianqian and half carried her down. It wasn't easy at all. Yi Qianqian blinked and asked, "Shen Jilia, you have to take care of me when you come out to play. Aren't you tired?" Shen Jilia looked gratified as he placed his hand on her forehead and stroked her. He nodded and said, "You finally realized it. Not bad. Go away." Yi Qianqian slapped his hand away. "Don't carry me if you're tired. I can walk on my own." Humph. Shen Jilia scooped her up in his arms. "Even if I'm tired, this is all I can do. Don't tell me I don't care about you. I'm not crippled. I can walk on my own." Yi Qianqian struggled a little. Shen Jilia immediately held her down. "Don't move. You're so heavy. If you move, I'll fall too." Shen Jilia. "Ha ha ha, behave yourself." With that said, he strode into the hotel. The security checked the keycard, then brought them to the elevator door, pressed the elevator button, and sent them in. Yi Qianqian leaned on Shen Jilia's shoulder. She stared at Shen Jilia's chin with her eyes that were neither sober nor dizzy. Shen Jilia knew that she was looking at him. At first, he only glanced at her and asked, "Am I very handsome?" Yi Qianqian's eyes were wide open, but she didn't say a word. Shen Jilia felt a little uncomfortable under her gaze, and he turned to look at her. Ding, the elevator arrived, and Shen Jilia stepped forward. After Yi Qianqian opened the door with the keycard, she twisted her body and said, "Put me down." He loosened his grip and put her down. Yi Qianqian immediately ran to the bathroom. Shen Jilia finally breathed a sigh of relief. When he came back to his senses, he realized that he was already sweating. He took off his shirt, got a bottle of water, and sat on the sofa. Chapter 1701. Is Yi Qianqian taking a shower? Shen Jilia looked at the time. It was still early. It was only a little past 7 in the evening. But when he thought about it, it made sense. She had woken up before 6 o'clock, and she had been out and about all day. It was only natural for her to be sleepy. However, when Shen Jilia heard the sound of the water, his emotions, which had been surging uncontrollably, became even more restless. He was thirsty. He was even thirstier. Shen Jilia gulped down 2 mouthfuls of water and let out a long breath. He stood up and went to the French windows to open them. A cool breeze swept over, and he felt more awake. Shen Jilia leaned against the railing and took a deep breath. Drunk women are really troublesome. Shen Jilia stayed for a while longer. Suddenly, he heard the bathroom door open behind him. He turned his head and saw Yi Qianqian walking out. But she was dressed in a completely different outfit. With just one look, Shen Jilia felt a rush of blood rush to his head. The restless emotions that he had just calmed down suddenly became active again. And compared to before, it was even fiercer and more intense. She was actually not wearing any clothes. She was wrapped in a bath towel. She didn't seem to expect Shen Jilia to be looking at her. She looked shocked. She immediately ran inside and quickly entered the room, closing the door behind her. Shen Jilia's body tensed up. The heat in his lower abdomen was uncontrollable. He scratched his head in frustration and walked into the bathroom with a long breath. As soon as he entered, he saw what Yi Qianqian was wearing today. A red top and simple black pants were placed next to the washstand. A pink semicircle was vaguely visible underneath. And the seductive little lace. Shen Jilia's body heated up even more. He immediately looked away and turned on the shower. He poured cold water over his head and cursed in a low voice. "Damn it, drunk women are really troublesome." Troublesome. Damn it, wasn't this the same as taking his life? This feeling is too unbearable. Shen Jilia was about to go crazy. After a long time, he turned off the water and dried his body. He casually wrapped a bath towel around his waist and walked out while drying his hair. He rummaged through his luggage and found a pair of shorts to put on before sitting on the sofa and questioning life. Where should I sleep tonight? He slept in his room last night. Would it be weird if he slept on the sofa tonight? However, if he slept in the room, he would probably go crazy. Or perhaps, suffocation to death. It was also possible that he would take her when he couldn't control himself. No. Yi Qianqian hadn't fully accepted him yet. If he suddenly showed that kind of interest in her, she would definitely be unhappy. What if she was unhappy and wanted to break up? He had been careful for so long, he couldn't let it all go to waste at this time. But he really wanted to go in, Should he go in and take a look? If she slept, she would sleep there. If he's not asleep, pretend to be passing by. Xueqi finally stood up and walked to the door of the room. He realized that the door was unlatched. She gently pushed the door open and walked in. The room was dimly lit with a warm yellow light. In such an atmosphere, it seemed a little ambiguous. Xueqi closed the door and quietly walked over. Yi Qianqian didn't move at all. Xueqi lifted the blanket and lay down. When he turned around to look at Yi Qianqian, he found that she was looking at him with her eyes open. Xueqi was startled. Before he could react, she hugged him. Chapter 1702. Xueqi was momentarily stunned. He blinked at Yi Qianqian in front of him. Under the dim light, Yi Qianqian's expression was unreadable. Before Xueqi could see clearly, Yi Qianqian pounced on him and kissed him on the lips. Yi Qianqian had never taken the initiative before. She seemed to be mimicking the way Xueqi usually kissed her, but she wasn't very familiar with it. She wrapped her arms around his neck and bit him repeatedly. Xueqi closed his eyes tightly, and his expression was one of despair. He gently pushed her away and said, "What do you want?" Yi Qianqian froze. Her face flushed red. When Xueqi saw that she wasn't moving, he said in a serious tone, "You're drunk. Don't mess around." When Yi Qianqian heard this, she was even more direct. She placed her hand on his naked waist. She leaned forward and sat on his body. Xueqi couldn't hold himself back any longer. His throat tightened, and he wrapped an arm around her waist. His other hand gripped her chin, and Xueqi's tongue invaded her mouth. His actions were urgent and forceful. Yi Qianqian's hands weren't very obedient. They slowly moved down from his waist, and her fingers tugged at his shorts. Xueqi felt terrible. He pushed her away and asked, "Do you know what you're doing?" Yi Qianqian's face was as red as blood, but her gaze was firm. She looked at Xueqi and enunciated each word clearly. "I raped you." Xueqi thought he had misheard and couldn't help but laugh out loud. "What did you say?" Yi Qianqian didn't say another word. She tugged at his shorts and dragged them down, rubbing her body against him. Xueqi couldn't take it anymore. His breathing quickened, and he lifted his leg. He turned the tables on her and pinned her under his body. "Don't you regret this?" he said. "No. Impossible." Before Yi Qianqian could finish her sentence, she was suppressed by his rapid movements. Yi Qianqian's body sank, and she was pushed to the center of the bed. Xueqi grabbed a pillow and placed it under her head. Yi Qianqian yelped in surprise, but before she could do anything else, he grabbed her hands and lifted them high above her head. The passionate kiss was overwhelming. Yi Qianqian had never imagined that kissing could be so passionate. Xueqi's lips traveled from her mouth to her neck. Yi Qianqian was ticklish, and she couldn't help but laugh out loud. She said, "Don't kiss me there. It tickles." Yi Qianqian sensed his movement, and her body trembled slightly. She instinctively pressed down on his hand. Xueqi paused and looked up at her. Yi Qianqian seemed a little afraid, but she also felt an indescribable sense of anticipation. Xueqi lowered his head and whispered, "Don't be afraid." Yi Qianqian wasn't afraid at first, but after hearing what he said, she became a little afraid. "Why not? Forget it." Yi Qianqian shrank back and pushed him away with her palm. She said, Xueqi could tell at a glance that the guy was trying to beat a retreat. Chapter 1703. That wouldn't do. He had to let this woman know that she had to pay the price for doing bad things. Xueqi covered her mouth and pressed her hand against the top of her head. He murmured, "I told you not to regret it. There's no turning back now." Sob. Yi Qianqian looked at him pitifully and struggled. However, Xueqi had no intention of letting her go. Yi Qianqian had goosebumps all over her body. She wriggled in resistance and said, "Xueqi, you." Xueqi ignored her and moved his hand to the back of her head. He touched the button and twisted it a few times, but there was no sign of it loosening. Xueqi was a little annoyed and tugged, but it made Yi Qianqian scream. "You idiot! Is this how you untie it?" Do you know how to untie it or not? When he heard this, Xueqi seemed to be angry and said, Why wouldn't I know how to untie it? Don't move. Yi Qianqian had no choice but to be patient. She arched her body so that he could untie it. But after a while, Xueqi still hadn't untied it. Yi Qianqian was furious. She raised her leg and kicked him. F***ck off. I'll do it myself. Xueqi wasn't convinced. He pressed her down and grabbed her hand. Don't move. I don't believe it. He picked Yi Qianqian up and held her in front of him. Xueqi looked behind her and used both his hands to untie the button easily. See? What's so difficult about it? Xueqi tugged her up. Before he had time to be smug, he saw the pink bra. His body heated up, and he looked down at Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian clutched her chest and shrank back with a red face. Xueqi couldn't stand it anymore. He pounced on her and pulled down her panties. You! Turn off the light. Xueqi pulled her down and hid her under the blanket. There's no need to turn it off. Turn it off. It's too glaring. No, it's comfortable to look at. Don't be shy. Didn't you want to rape me? Look at how cowardly you are. I'll probably rape you. Yi Qianqian was annoyed. She pushed him away and straddled him. She shouted, Bull**t. I said that I'm stronger than you, so I'm stronger than you. What's with all this nonsense? Just lie down. Xueqi had never been an obedient person. He pulled her leg and said helplessly and amusedly, Sir, please do me a favor. When you want to do whatever you want, take off my pants first. Yi Qianqian's face burned even hotter. She lowered her head and hid under the blanket. She reached out and pulled his shorts down. Slowly, slowly. Hurry up, what are you doing? Are you afraid now? I'm a coward. Yi Qianqian tugged at it angrily. The moment she did so, she could clearly see the thing that made her extremely embarrassed. Yi Qianqian was shocked and immediately shrank back. Xueqi slowly inched backward. He could tell what she was up to at a glance. He immediately stood up and pulled her back, teasing her with a smile. You're scared. I need to pee. Let me go, I need to pee. Scared to the point of peeing? Bah, you think you're so powerful, Chapter 1704. Don't be a coward. Xueqi firmly suppressed her. At the very least, you should fulfill your promise. Yi Qianqian struggled to no avail. She could only tremble and relax. But then she was gently rubbed, and the electric shock was immediately triggered all over her body. You! Xueqi didn't wait for her to finish. His fingers curled into the depths, and he clearly felt the resistance. Yi Qianqian was going crazy. The place that no one had touched before was clearly invaded. She subconsciously clamped her legs together and clenched her teeth. Xueqi had expected it, but he felt strange that he could feel it so clearly. It was rare for a woman of her age to still be a virgin. What was even more strange was that this virgin kept saying that she wanted to rape him. Xueqi's eyes darkened, and he began to move. It was very comfortable to hear such things. The first time was very painful, but after the pain, it would be very pleasurable. But Yi Qianqian didn't feel that it was very painful, but it was not very comfortable. Yi Qianqian resisted and pushed him away. She turned her head away and said, Dirty. Xueqi didn't move away. He pressed his body against hers and kissed her inch by inch. Yi Qianqian's breathing became more and more rapid, and her throat made an unbearable sound. After an unknown amount of time, Xueqi's hand finally moved away. But before Yi Qianqian could breathe a sigh of relief, she felt a wave of pain. It was followed by an indescribable tearing pain. The feeling came so suddenly that Yi Qianqian screamed and clung to his back tightly. Xueqi's body was already covered in sweat. He looked at her and whispered, Don't be nervous. Relax. Yi Qianqian felt like she was about to faint from the pain. She clutched his arm tightly and shouted, F***ck, Xueqi you. Xueqi also knew that it would hurt, and he was thinking about whether or not to withdraw. But when he heard her scolding, he gave up on the idea. When she felt him move slightly, Yi Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. But then she felt an oppressive pain. Her body felt like it was being bitten by 10,000 ants. It was uncomfortable everywhere. F*ck off, Shenjilia. You big pervert. You F*king. Sob sob sob. Get out. It hurt so much. She grabbed his arm and said, let's just say that you raped me. Get out of here. I won't rape you anymore. This is the first time in my life that I've experienced the pain of my lungs being torn apart. Woo 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 woo. Shenjilia was amused. His body trembled slightly, and he almost lost control. He immediately perked up. No, there's no room for discussion. He kissed Yi Qianqian's lips and slowly began to move. As Shenjilia moved, Yi Qianqian resisted and cried. She cried so hard that Shenjilia didn't dare move. Hey, don't act like I'm really forcing myself on you. You're putting a lot of pressure on me. Yi Qianqian immediately stopped crying. Shenjilia grabbed a pillow and placed it under her waist before he began to suppress her sobs. It wasn't a long time, but it was torturous enough for Yi Qianqian. When they stopped, Yi Qianqian clenched her fists and contemplated life with her back to Shenjilia. Shenjilia leaned over and noticed that she was obviously unhappy. He scratched his head in frustration. She had cried so miserably just now, and he didn't dare to enjoy himself to his heart's content. He was still suppressing a ball of fire. He felt wronged. Yi Qianqian. Chapter 1705. Shenjilia couldn't help kissing her neck. He placed his hands by her side and asked in a husky voice, "Does it feel good?" Yi Qianqian was already a little embarrassed. When he asked her that question, she felt even more embarrassed. She glared at him, but he slammed into her again. Yi Qianqian's eyes welled up with tears. When she heard her embarrassed voice, she gritted her teeth. Shenjilia seemed to be addicted to it. He let out a low, husky breath. It sounded like he was moaning and deliberately seducing her. What was worse was that Yi Qianqian felt that he was extremely sexy when he did that. He was crazy. Yi Qianqian had tasted the sweetness and was no longer so resistant. This continued for a very, very long time. Yi Qianqian couldn't take it anymore and pushed him away. Shenjilia continued for a while longer before he stopped. Tired. So tired. It was rare for Yi Qianqian to wake up early and run 2 laps. She had never been so tired before. Her eyelids were fighting, and her body felt like it was falling apart. It was extremely uncomfortable. The most uncomfortable thing was that when she finally rested, she realized that the bed sheets were wet. Yi Qianqian turned over and lay on top of him. She was too lazy to move and asked, "What time is it?" Shenjilia looked around and finally moved to the bedside table to pick up a phone. He looked at it and was silent for a moment before he said, "Let's sleep." "What time is it?" "Well, it's almost 12. Yi Qianqian looked up suddenly. She was stunned at first, then she exclaimed in disbelief, "It was only 8 when you came in." "Well, I think so. D*mu. Yi Qianqian suddenly felt wronged. "You F*ked me for more than 3 hours. Are you still human?" Sob, sob, sob. "My bones are falling apart." Shenjilia laughed when he heard that. "Can't you have some self-awareness as a woman?" "What are you saying? How am I not a woman? If you have the guts, go sleep with a man." Shenjilia laughed even louder. He hugged her and said, "Go take a shower." "Oh, I don't want to move. I'm tired." Yi Qianqian lay on top of him and looked at him pitifully. Shenjilia sat up and carried her in his arms. "Let me help you," he said. Yi Qianqian immediately got up and shook her head. "No, I'll go by myself." "What are you afraid of? Which part of your body haven't I seen before?" Yi Qianqian reached out and pinched his waist. "So what if I've seen it? I'm not going to wash it for you." It didn't hurt, but Shenjilia immediately wailed and said, "Ouch! You're trying to murder your husband." Scram. "I'm going to take a bath." Yi Qianqian pulled her pajamas over to cover her body. She glanced at the wet bed sheets. There were a few spots of blood on them, and they were mottled and messy. "The bed is dirty. Go take a shower. I'll call someone to change the sheets." "I don't think so. Wouldn't they know what we did?" "That's not good. But he obviously did something. If we don't change it, are we supposed to keep it for the night? Ugh. It should be quite uncomfortable to fall asleep. Yi Qianqian thought for a moment before nodding her head. Hurry up then. I'll go to bed after I take a shower. I'm hungry, are you? It would have been better if he hadn't mentioned it. Once he did, Yi Qianqian really did feel a little hungry. Yeah, go ahead and call someone. Shen Jielia knew her taste the best, so she didn't worry about it. She pulled her clothes over and put them on. As she put them on, Yi Qianqian turned her head to warn him, "Don't peek at me." Shen Jielia was confused. Which part of your body haven't I seen before? Why can't I see when you're wearing clothes? Yi Qianqian's face heated up. She glared at him and said, "You're not allowed to look. Turn around." Shen Jielia was defeated by her. He stretched out his hands with an expression of defeat on his face and turned his head away. Yi Qianqian quickly put on her shirt and pants before running out. Only when he got to the bathroom did he realize that he was in a mess. Hickeys. Deep and shallow marks covered her chest, and neck. Moreover, it hurt. Chapter 1706. Yi Qianqian resisted the urge to sit down. She turned on the hot water and quickly showered. Halfway through the shower, she heard the doorbell ring. It must be room service. Yi Qianqian stayed in the bathroom for about 10 minutes before she slowly walked out. The bed sheets had been changed, and it looked very clean and tidy. Shen Jielia, on the other hand, was sitting on the bed. He was dressed in simple, typical pajamas. Wow, you're dressed so conservatively. Yi Qianqian took her hair down and teased him. Of course. An auntie came to change the bedsheets just now. Do I have to let her have a look? Shen Jielia lifted the blanket and patted the spot beside him. Come here. Yi Qianqian didn't have much energy left. She looked at his invitation and was a little wary. What do you want? Shen Jielia smiled helplessly. What can I do? I'm tired after such a long time. Come here. Yi Qianqian walked over suspiciously. Her legs were already sore and weak. Once she sat down, her whole body felt comfortable. She lay down comfortably. Yi Qianqian closed her eyes and fell asleep. Shen Jielia also lay down and covered her with the blanket. Then he crossed his legs and clamped her down. When we go back, don't go back to Kingstown. Come with me to the capital. Ah! Yi Qianqian's drowsiness suddenly disappeared. She opened her eyes and looked at Shen Jielia. What the hell? So fast. How long do you want to wait? We're already like this. Don't you want to marry me? Shen Jielia stared at Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian was a little confused. Did they have to get married after sleeping together? Although it was her first time, Yi Qianqian really didn't think that she had to leave her first time to her husband. The reason she had kept it before was purely because she hadn't met the right person she liked. Now, although Shen Jielia was not bad, was it too sudden and too fast to ask to meet his family the moment they were in bed? Yi Qianqian was not mentally prepared at all. She looked at Shen Jielia and said after a long while, "Do you bring every girl you sleep with home to meet your parents?" Shen Jielia clamped her legs tightly. Yi Qianqian felt a little pain. She frowned and said, "It hurts. What are you doing? Who am I in your eyes? Do you think I'm the kind of person who would mess around outside?" Shen Jielia's voice was devoid of any trace of amusement. Yi Qianqian was even more confused. She retorted, "Aren't you?" Yi Qianqian. Shen Jielia gritted his teeth. He was so angry that he raised his fist, but he didn't know what to say. After a long time he sighed heavily and said, "Do I look like a playboy?" Ah. Yi Qianqian hadn't expected him to suddenly ask such a question. She thought about it seriously for a moment and said, "I don't think you're a playboy. I just feel that you're not very loyal. Your love life should be very rich. After all, you..." Shen Jielia felt like he was about to vomit blood. He suddenly flipped over and pinned Yi Qianqian beneath him. Unlike the gentleness from before, he exerted all his strength on her, as if he wanted to crush her to death. Yi Qianqian felt a little uncomfortable. She tried to push him away, but he wouldn't budge. "What are you doing? Do you think you're that light? I'll be crushed to death by you later." "Crush you to death? How dare you defile me?" Chapter 1707. Shen Jilia's revenge had failed. When he saw how heartless Yi Qianqian was, he felt a surge of anger in his chest. It was so heavy that he couldn't get up or down. It was so uncomfortable. Shen Jilia flipped over and lay with his back facing Yi Qianqian. He closed his eyes and stopped talking. Yi Qianqian was baffled. After she loosened her muscles and bones, she looked at Shen Jilia. Shen Jilia's back was facing her. His body was curled up, and his arms were crossed. He looked angry. What the hell? She wasn't even angry. Why was he angry? Staring at his back, Yi Qianqian coughed softly and said, "What's wrong with you?" Shen Jilia shrank to the side and didn't make a sound. But the signs of resistance to anger were even more obvious. Yi Qianqian didn't understand. She leaned over and reached out to grab his arm. Shen Jilia didn't move. Yi Qianqian gathered her courage and leaned over again. She whispered, "Hey, what's wrong with you? Why are you angry?" Shen Jilia still didn't make a sound. Yi Qianqian put her leg on his body and shouted, "Shen Jilia! Shen Agu! Darling!" Shen Jilia shivered and immediately shook her leg off. Yi Qianqian saw that and immediately leaned over again. Her chest was pressed against his back, and her whole body was wrapped around him like an octopus. "My dear little baby." Shen Jilia was even more shocked. He struggled for a moment and said in a low voice, "Get away!" Yi Qianqian was disgusted, but at least the guy reacted. Yi Qianqian immediately crawled to his side and leaned her head toward his cheek to kiss him. Shen Jilia didn't react when she kissed him. His eyes were still closed, and his arms were wrapped even tighter. His lips were tightly pursed, and he didn't say a word. Yi Qianqian flipped over from behind him and rubbed against him. "What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. You're not a hero if you're angry. You're not a man." Shen Jilia opened his eyes and looked at Yi Qianqian. He reached out and hugged her. "Whether I'm a man or not, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it." Yi Qianqian's face turned red from his teasing. She struggled for a moment and said, "I can't kill you, you pervert." "You're the pervert." Shen Jilia gritted his teeth and tightened his grip on her waist. She resisted and pushed him away. She shouted, "Shen Jilia, are you crazy? Are you trying to strangle me to death?" "Humph." Shen Jilia let go of her and turned his head to sleep with his back facing her. Yi Qianqian felt that he was being unreasonable, and her anger flared. She turned around and ignored him. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. It was probably because of the food. Yi Qianqian's stomach was growling, but she wasn't wearing any underwear, so it wasn't appropriate for her to open the door. He nudged the man behind him with his butt. "Open the door." Unexpectedly, Shen Jilia did not move or make a sound. It was as if he had fallen asleep. Yi Qianqian's anger surged. She flung the blanket aside forcefully, got out of bed, and stomped out of the room. However, before she could reach the doorknob, she was pulled back by a large hand. Shen Jilia had a sleepy look on his face. His red lips were tightly pursed, and he walked out with a displeased look on his face. Yi Qianqian was furious and shouted, "Shen Jilia, are you crazy?" Shen Jilia ignored her and went to open the door. Chapter 1708. Shen Jilia took the food and signed his name before he slowly walked in and placed the food on the table. He ordered a simple pizza and 2 glasses of fruit juice, all of which Yi Qianqian liked. Shen Jilia paused as he looked at the food. He thought about what Yi Qianqian had just said. "I don't think you're a playboy, but I think you're not very faithful. Your love life should be very rich. After all, what was he doing? After all, he was already so old. So he couldn't take her home, couldn't let her see his parents? A normal woman would be willing to give her first time to this man. Wasn't it because she was willing to be with this man? If she was willing, why wouldn't she want to go back to the capital with him to see his parents?" Shen Jilia felt a fire burning in his stomach. At the same time, he felt a little sad. From Yi Qianqian's attitude just now and her attitude when he went to Yun Town, she probably never thought of marrying him. Shen Jilia sat on the sofa and suddenly felt a little defeated. What was wrong with him? Was he not handsome enough, or was he not good enough? That couldn't be right. If he was in the capital, There would be a lot of women willing to marry him just by mentioning his name. Why wouldn't Yi Qianqian be willing? There was no reason for her not to be willing. Shen Jilia couldn't help but think that from the beginning, he had been the one taking the initiative and maintaining the relationship. Other than this time, Yi Qianqian had only been passively accepting it. His mind was a mess. As he sat there, his mind was filled with thoughts that were driving him crazy. What did Yi Qianqian mean? After a long time, Shen Jilia stood up and walked to the door of the room. When he opened the door, he found that it was locked from the inside. He knocked twice and asked, "Are you hungry? Come out and eat." Yi Qianqian was covered in the blanket and hugged it angrily. When she heard that, her stomach grumbled twice. Damn it! Why did she have to make life difficult for herself? Shen Jilia was sick, but she wasn't. She lifted the blanket and got out of bed. Yi Qianqian opened the door. Shen Jilia stood at the door. When he saw her angry face, he finally felt better. At least he wasn't the only one who was upset. Yi Qianqian walked out barefoot. When she saw the pizza, her stomach grumbled even more happily. She went to the bathroom to wash her hands. Then, she opened a bottle of juice and drank it. Shen Jilia looked at it and scratched his head. He walked over and sat down beside her. Yi Qianqian. Yi Qianqian ignored him and grabbed a pair of gloves. She grabbed a pizza and ate happily. It was just a little hot, and Yi Qianqian couldn't quite grasp it through her gloves, so she put it down again. Do you have some misunderstanding about me? What misunderstanding? It's nothing. Yi Qianqian picked it up again and put it in her mouth. It's a little hot. Have you washed your hands? Shen Jilia replied, No, I think you might have misunderstood something. I did have a few girlfriends in the past, but they were just for fun. The longest lasted no more than 3 months. Later, I fell in love with Lily because I admired her. But that kind of admiration wasn't as strong as what we are now. Yi Qianqian looked at him as she ate. Shen Jilia was also hungry. His appetite had been whetted by the sight of her enjoying herself. He leaned over and sat down. He continued, You said that I have a lot of experience in relationships, but in fact, I'm not that experienced. You might not believe it, but before I met you, all those women were just passable. Yi Qianqian pouted and stuffed the last bite into her mouth. I don't believe you. Shen Jilia was speechless. Death. Chapter 1709. I'm serious. Shen Jilia was afraid that she wouldn't believe him, so he stared at her and said seriously. Yi Qianqian grabbed another slice of pizza and stuffed it into his mouth. I'm being serious, she said. Shen Jilia was speechless. He took a bite of the pizza in his mouth and ate it as if it tasted like wax. The atmosphere was tense. Neither Shen Jilia nor Yi Qianqian spoke first. After dinner, they washed up and went back to their rooms to sleep. Yi Qianqian was in a terrible mood, and so was Shen Jilia. He tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. He turned around and held her in his arms as he asked, Yi Qianqian, how exactly do you feel about me? Yi Qianqian wasn't asleep either. When she felt the warmth of his body behind her, her heart fluttered. But when he heard these words, he felt upset in his heart. He was her first man. How could she feel about him? If she didn't have feelings for him, would she have slept with him? But when he heard these words, he felt terrible. Twisting his arm, he said, I should be the one asking you. Then ask me, and I'll answer you. Yi Qianqian had her back to him. She didn't respond or speak. Shen Jilia was silent for a long time before he said, You pounced on me in the middle of the night and said that you wanted to rape me. Now that your evil plan has succeeded, you can't just shirk responsibility, can you? Yi Qianqian nearly choked on her saliva. She exploded in anger and retorted, Bull**T. Have you ever seen a rapist take responsibility for his victim? F***ck. You really don't intend to take responsibility? I don't care. Anyway, like you said, I'm yours from now on. Shen Jilia held her waist tightly. You've already defiled me. I won't be able to get married in the future. If you don't want me anymore, I'll die. Yi Qianqian was speechless. Shen Jilia leaned over and stroked her slightly fleshy belly with one hand. He squeezed it. Yi Qianqian was ticklish. She shivered slightly. Go away. If you want me to leave, I can, but I want my status, Shenjilia said pitifully as he leaned against her back. Status, status, Yi Qianqian. Status. Yi Qianqian looked disgusted. What's a status? Can I eat it? Yes, with a title, you can work with a certificate. It will be much more convenient. Yi Qianqian felt that it was too sudden. She didn't reject him, but she never thought they would get married right after having sex. Shenjilia, she said. Right now, he liked her, especially when he had just taken her virginity. It was normal for him to be so excited. Jilia Yi, Jilia said. Shenjilia, Shenti Xingshen, Shenti Shent. Especially since Shenjilia was from the capital. Yi Shen Ti Shen Shen, Yi Ti Shen Shen at. Jilia T. Shen. Two. At. God. T. Ah, so you look at age. Actually, more importantly, I want to bring you home so that my parents and grandma can take a look at you. After we return, let's go straight to the capital, okay? Yi Qianqian found it hard to accept. Why are you in such a hurry? I think it's too soon. Shenjilia could tell that she didn't want to. After a moment of silence, Shenjilia hugged her and said, Let's sleep. Chapter 17:10. It was quiet all night. When Yi Qianqian woke up, Shenjilia was no longer in bed. It was empty. Yi Qianqian felt that something was wrong. Is this guy still in a bad mood? Yi Qianqian got up and walked out of the door. She didn't see Shenjilia on the sofa. The bathroom was empty. Yi Qianqian suddenly felt a little uneasy. She just didn't want to go home with him to see his parents. How could this guy go missing? She looked around and called out, Shenjilia. However, there was still no answer. Yi Qianqian ran back to her room and found her cell phone. She immediately called Shenjilia. As soon as the call went through, Shenjilia picked up the phone. Hello. The voice sounded a little energetic. There was a little noise on the side. Yi Qianqian was silent for a moment when she heard the voice. Then she asked, Where are you? I'm buying breakfast outside. This shop has a very good reputation. I'm still in line. Wait for me. I'll be back soon. Yi Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. Okay. Bye. After hanging up, Yi Qianqian felt her heart tighten. She was a little afraid that he would leave her alone. She looked at the time on her cell phone. It was 8:30 in the morning. It was getting late. But that guy had tossed and turned for half a day last night. He didn't fall asleep until at least 3 or 4 o'clock. Would his body be able to take it if he woke up so early? Yi Qianqian felt a little guilty. After a long time, she sighed, put down her cell phone to charge, and went to wash up. It was past 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the capital. Luo Ran had just fallen asleep from his afternoon nap when he was awakened by Shenjilia's WeChat message. Shenjilia had never looked for him once in 8 lifetimes. Whenever he did, it was either a meal or a drink. This was the first time. Just when Luo Ran thought the sky was falling, he realized that Shenjilia wanted him to find a way to get his girlfriend. Excuse me. When did this guy have a girlfriend? In the face of Luo Ran's question, Shenjilia had no intention of explaining at all. He poured out all his troubles and what had happened. After understanding what had happened between them, Luo Ran disdainfully said, Are you stupid? Even if I know what you said is true, who would believe you? Your girlfriend might even think that you said the same thing to all of your girlfriends. Shenjilia felt as if he had been shot in the heart. Ever since last night, he had felt that something was amiss. Then what should we do? I've already said it. Is there any way to save it? Luo Ran's interest was piqued when he heard that. Are you serious? Look at how beautiful this girl is. She's already taken care of you. Look at you. Do you still want to marry her? Of course. If I don't marry her, why would I waste so much effort? Don't talk too much. Just tell me what to do. That's not easy. Most girls like to listen to sweet talk. You just need to be a little more sweet. Pooh. Shenjilia spat angrily. It'd be great if this woman was just like any other girl. Did you know? Last night, she said she wanted to rape me. In the end, I found out she was a virgin. Shameless. You talk as if you're not a virgin. You still have the cheek to talk about others? Luo Ran had a look of disdain on his face. She doesn't want to marry you because she thinks that you're not good at it, right? Shut up. She's not that kind of person. Caven. Hard to write. Chapter 17:11. Luo Ran immediately understood and said with a smile, "So that's how it is." Shen Jielia didn't have many friends, but Luo Ran was one of them. The two of them had known each other since college, and their friendship could be said to be quite good. Luo Ran liked to hang out in bars, and Shen Jielia was often taken around by him. The few girlfriends he had met before were all in bars, but later he gradually found that the girls in bars were not reliable, so Shen Jielia gave up the idea of being single in bars. Unfortunately, after his girlfriends parted on good terms with him, they turned around and got together with Luo Ran. Especially after they told Luo Ran that Shen Jielia didn't have any improper thoughts about them. Luo Ran had been laughing at them until now. Hearing Luo Ran's laughter, Shen Jielia had a bad feeling. Sure enough, Luo Ran immediately said, "It's also your first time, and it's also her first time. You have lived for most of your life, but you have never tasted a woman. You can't control yourself, and you annoy her. That's why she is so resistant to you." Shen Jielia was silent for a moment. Was that really the reason? Thinking of her reaction last night, Shen Jielia actually felt that it was right. Luo Ran seemed to be quite experienced in this regard. His words seemed to solve all his doubts. Shen Jielia was waiting in line to buy breakfast, and the people in front of him were getting fewer and fewer. Luo Ran heard that he didn't speak, so he said again, "You said that you slept with her last night, and then you turned around and asked her to see your parents. A normal girl would probably think that you can't find a wife and are afraid that she will run away, so you are in a hurry to find a wife. If I were that girl, I'm afraid I would break up with you in bed. Your girl has a good temper." "Bah, who's like you? Women change like they change clothes. I'm her first boyfriend." "That's even more normal. Women who have never been in love have endless yearning for that kind of thing." Luo Ran was so sleepy that he yawned. He leaned back in the lounge and said, "They want to be handsome, rich and nice to themselves. They want to live like a princess. As for men, aren't they just Prince Charming and Black Knight? A loser like you is basically out of the scope of those girls' sexual fantasies." Shen Jielia was speechless. "Besides, you said that this girl is your ex-sister-in-law's sister, so she must have a certain understanding of your family. Your grandmother treated your ex-sister-in-law so badly, so it's normal that she doesn't dare to marry you." Shen Jielia was speechless. "All right, you think about it yourself. I don't want to get married anyway. I can probably guess what this girl is thinking. Don't push her too hard. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered, and this girl is still a virgin. Even if you want to, you have to hold it in. Don't give her a psychological shadow. Otherwise, you'll lose more than you gain." Shen Jielia was displeased. "You seem to know a lot about me." "Of course. Who do you think you are? What kind of women have I not seen before? I can conjure up a basket of them for you. I'm very familiar with this little trick. All right, I'm hanging up. Grandpa, I'm going to sleep. Goodbye." After Luo Ran hung up the phone, Shen Jielia felt even more uncomfortable. This guy was beating around the bush with his words. Was he saying that his EQ was low? At that moment, it was Shen Jielia's turn. Chapter 17:12. By the time he returned with breakfast, Yi Qianqian had already changed and was sitting on the sofa playing games. When she saw him come back, she looked at the time. It was almost 9 o'clock. Yi Qianqian went up to take the breakfast and opened the packaging. "Why are you up so early? This shop is very popular. I had to go and queue up." Shen Jielia went to wash his hands and took out a wet towel. "Let's go to the museum today and then to the art gallery to cultivate our spirit." Yi Qianqian suddenly felt bored. "Is there any other place? Didn't you come up with a guide before you came? What else is there to play?" Yi Qianqian's eyes suddenly lit up. Let's go to the art gallery. Let's play. Okay. Shen Jilia took her hand and wiped it for her. Let's eat first. We'll play later. Yi Qianqian's hand was warm from his wiping. She recalled the panic that had flashed through her heart when she couldn't find him. Yi Qianqian felt that something was wrong with her. She seemed to care about this man too much. It was said that in a relationship, the person who fell in love first was the loser. She might have already lost, starting from yesterday when she decided to give herself to him. Shen Jilia saw that she was in a daze and didn't say anything. He took out the breakfast and said, "Eat while it's hot." It was the weekend, so there were many people in the art gallery. Not only were there Italians, but there were also many people with the same yellow skin and black eyes walking around. They were either speaking Korean or Japanese, or some other language that they couldn't recognize. Yi Qianqian's body was still sore, and she couldn't walk very well. Shen Jilia saw it and felt that what Luo Ran had said couldn't be more right. She definitely wasn't feeling well, but she didn't ruin their fun. Apart from doing it the night before, Yi Qianqian hadn't complained at all. Where else could he find a girl like her? Shen Jilia followed behind her, and the self-blame in his heart increased. Yi Qianqian didn't notice Shen Jilia's strange behavior. She pulled him excitedly and said, "Let's go. There's something fun there." It was an art gallery that was specially provided for people to play. In addition to pottery, there were rooms for sketches, oil paintings, flower arrangements, and handicrafts. Yi Qianqian had wanted to visit such a place for a long time, but she couldn't find the time when she was in Kingstown. Instead, she realized her dream overseas. Yi Qianqian stood in line and bought a ticket to enter. She looked down the corridor and saw the art studio. Holding Shen Jilia's hand, Yi Qianqian could clearly see through the glass door that there was a beautiful woman inside. The beauty had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was very beautiful. Her long hair was tied into a braid and hung in front of her. The pink gauze dress she wore covered half of her body and just happened to cover the vital parts of her body. His snow-white skin was even more stunning under the pink fabric. It was so beautiful that Yi Qianqian couldn't tear her eyes away. She immediately reacted and turned to look at Shen Jilia. When she realized that he was also looking, she quickly covered his eyes and said, "You're not allowed to look." Shen Jilia blinked his eyes in exasperation and pride. She's a model. What are you thinking? Girls can sacrifice themselves for art, but you can't look at it. You're not going in. Chapter 17:13. I'll eat your ass. Aren't you childish? Yi Qianqian pushed him away and turned around. Let's go. The clay classroom is over there. Yi Qianqian walked awkwardly. Shen Jilia quickly caught up with her and held her arm. Let's go together. Yi Qianqian glared at him and began to look around. The purpose of her visit was very clear. The clay classroom. When they entered, they found many girls and men accompanying their partners. Yi Qianqian and Shen Jilia swiped their tickets and walked in. They walked to a table that no one had used before. The tables were separated from each other by a partition, so neither of them could see what she was doing. It was Yi Qianqian's first time playing with such a thing. She put on an apron and sat down. She looked at the simple tutorial posted on the partition and quickly got the hang of it. Shen Jilia had never played with it before either. The two of them squeezed the clay into a ball. Their hands were covered with grayish-white clay. What's next? Yi Qianqian was a little confused. How do I start the clay machine? Let me study it. Shen Jilia looked around and pressed the switch. Then, the clay machine began to turn slowly. Yi Qianqian was a little excited when they finally got to the main topic. She placed her hands on the clay and looked at the marks left by her fingers. The shape of the clay began to slowly change. The joy she felt was indescribable. The clay grew and was pressed into a short and fat person. Yi Qianqian was playing with it excitedly. Shen Jilia watched her play. Yi Qianqian glanced at him and said, "Go play at the table next to you. This thing is fun." No. Shen Jilia moved forward and pressed his tall body against her back. Let's play together. Yi Qianqian's body tensed slightly. With him pressing against her, the heat immediately rose. Yi Qianqian looked around and felt a little embarrassed. she said. Don't do this. It's not good if others see us. Ha! Xueqi lowered his head. His warm breath blew on her neck. We're not doing anything. Why are you afraid of others seeing us? As he spoke, he reached out and gently placed his hand on Yi Qianqian's. Both of their hands were dirty and stuck with grayish-white clay. Yi Qianqian looked at the clay that was gradually being pressed down and suddenly remembered a scene from a movie she had watched before. Xueqi's body pressed closer and closer to her as he whispered, "Is this your first time playing this?" It was rare for Xueqi to speak in such a gentle voice. In an instant, Xueqi's temperament seemed different. Was he deliberately flirting with her? Yi Qianqian saw through him in an instant, but she couldn't believe that Xueqi had seduced her. Yi Qianqian felt even more uncomfortable when she heard his question from behind her. She nudged him gently and said, "Get away from me. You're making me feel so hot." Xueqi moved away slightly. He looked at the slowly rotating ceramic machine and said, "Come, I'll teach you." "You can? I used to accompany my mom to play a few times. I've probably seen how other people play." Xueqi used his finger to gently push it to the center, and a dent slowly appeared in the clay. Yi Qianqian looked over and poked it with her finger. She chuckled and said, "This is easy. I heard that the difficult part lies in the heat control and timing. Otherwise it will crack easily. Let's try." Xueqi couldn't help but wrap his arms around her. Especially when he thought about the taste of last night, he felt uncomfortable all over. Yi Qianqian immediately sensed that something was wrong as the heat surged. Chapter 17:14. Behind her, Xueqi was pressing himself firmly against her. He leaned close to her ear and watched the gradually changing clay in front of him. Yi Qianqian glanced sideways. Xueqi was leaning forward with a very serious expression on his face. It was as if he wasn't the one pressing a hot bulge against her at that very moment. Yi Qianqian's face instantly turned red. After struggling for a moment, she growled, "Get lost, you pervert." "Be quiet." Xueqi's gaze was still on the clay in front of him. "It's going to spoil soon." "You let go." Yi Qianqian glared at him. "To think that I just thought of a classic scene from Ghost. What a waste of such a romantic plot. Get out of my way," Yi Qianqian said. Xueqi felt even more uncomfortable. He pressed her against him and said, "Don't. There are people around. If they see us, it'll be even more embarrassing. Just for a moment." What's the classic scene in Ghost?" Yi Qianqian didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt as if everyone around them was looking in her direction. She looked around, but it didn't seem to be there. At this point, Yi Qianqian had no choice but to turn her head back with a red face. She looked at the clay and twisted it uncomfortably. She said, "Isn't it just a scene where we play with clay? The male lead and the female lead are in love, but just as they are about to get married, the male lead is killed. The female lead is heartbroken. At that moment, the male lead's good friend takes advantage of the situation, but his motive is not pure. Later, it is discovered that the male lead's death was planned by the good friend. The good friend pursues the female lead? Yes, but he has a motive. Then why is the clay scene a classic? Because they love each other very much. Even if it's just quietly kneading clay together, there is a resonance in their souls. That kind of spiritual connection is pure and supreme. Oh. It's a very romantic plot. It's not as wretched as you." Yi Qianqian said this in a low voice. "Move away. I'm uncomfortable." Xueqi didn't budge. He asked in a low voice, "Which country is this movie from?" "America. Haven't you seen such a classic movie?" "Yes, but I'm not interested in romance movies." Xueqi tightened his grip on her hand. Very quickly, her hand crumbled into a ball. "Do you know why this scene in the movie is such a classic?" "Because it was placed in a classic movie, it became a classic," Yi Qianqian said matter-of-factly. Xueqi chuckled. "Yes, but I think there's another explanation." "What?" "In the United States, clay is called clay, but clay has another meaning." Yi Qianqian's English wasn't very good, but she still knew what the word meant. Blinking his eyes, he asked, "Body?" Yes. Shen Jilia covered her hands with both of his and slowly pushed the clay away. Round by round he asked, "Do they play with clay like this too?" Yi Qianqian suddenly felt a little evil. As she looked at the clay, she couldn't help but associate it with the word, flesh. In the movie, they're playing with clay. This is very straightforward and bold. It's ambiguous and dirty. Yi Qianqian's face burned even hotter. So you think I'm just playing with clay now? Chapter 17:15. Don't accuse me wrongly. Isn't that what the movie is trying to express? Shen Jilia's lips curled up in a smile. He seemed to have gotten what he wanted. As she spoke, Yi Qianqian could clearly feel the hardness behind her back not diminishing in the slightest. Instead, it made her feel even more embarrassed. Shen Jilia placed his hands on top of hers. His fingers pressed against the gaps between her fingers as he wantonly played with the clay that was constantly spinning on the ceramic machine. Its shape was constantly changing, and it looked terrible. But at the same time, Yi Qianqian felt that such a scene had an indescribable desire. Bastard, you've been brainwashed. Yi Qianqian moved a little. Let go. Move away. I'm quite curious. Shen Jilia suddenly changed the topic. In the movie you watched, what did they do after they finished playing with clay? What did he do? Yi Qianqian knew that after they teased each other, they kissed. Two pairs of muddy hands intertwined with each other as they kissed. The scene was beautiful and romantic. Then the screen went black. Yi Qianqian used to think that this kind of love was wonderful, but when it came to herself, she couldn't feel it anymore. Yi Qianqian's face heated up at the thought that they might have done something indescribable after that. She nudged Shen Jilia and said, "It's none of your business. If you want to know, go and see for yourself. Right now. I feel terrible." Shen Jilia finally stepped aside. His body was so tense that it was uncomfortable. "I'm going to the bathroom." Yi Qianqian was speechless. What was he going there for? Could it be, so disgusting? When Shen Jilia saw the look of disgust on Yi Qianqian's face, he immediately knew what she was thinking. He felt wronged and said, "The bathroom is just behind. I'll be out soon." Yi Qianqian still had a look of disdain on her face as she continued to play with the clay. After a few minutes, Shen Jilia walked out. There were beads of water on her face, and her cheeks were red. Yi Qianqian glanced at it and replied, "I'll do it myself. You should get some rest." "What do you want to do?" "I want to make it into a bowl." Shen Jilia burst out laughing. "Don't most people make cups? How did you make it into a basin? And it's so small. How are you going to make a basin?" "There are many different types of pots," Yi Qianqian said, concentrating on her work. She thinned the walls of the pot and pushed it higher. "Most people make cups, but I'm different. Cups are a tragedy. I want to make a comedy. Washing utensils." Shen Jilia looked at it carefully. After a moment's thought, he turned to leave. "Wait a moment." Yi Qianqian craned her neck to look, but Shen Jilia was nowhere to be seen. After a while, Shen Jilia reappeared with a basin in his hand. It was filled with a sizable amount of clay. Yi Qianqian's eyes lit up. "How big do you want to make the basin?" "It should at least be a wash basin. With that bit of dirt you have, it's not even enough to drink soup." Shen Jilia added the clay he had just prepared into the pot and began to serve it earnestly. Both of them were just here to play and were not professionals at all. After much difficulty, they finally made something that looked like a wash basin. Full of anticipation, they took the wash basin to burn. However, extreme joy turned to sorrow. Because the basin was too big, it couldn't fit into the oven. When Yi Qianqian heard this, her face was filled with disappointment. She looked at Shen Jilia. Chapter 17:16. Yi Qianqian had no choice but to take it back and rework it. She suddenly had an idea. He poured the water into the basin and divided it into two pieces. "Come and help." Yi Qianqian called out to Shen Jilia. Yi Qianqian was usually carefree, but when she was serious, she was very focused. She stared at the clay in front of her. As she kneaded and kneaded, Yi Qianqian put the pieces together and quickly created a prototype. Judging from the shape, it looked like a human. Yi Qianqian deliberately flattened a small piece of soil and stuck it to her hair. It was short and looked like a man's. Then, she took Shen Jilia's and made a woman with long hair. She even made a cute dress. These two things were much smaller than the basin from before. When they were taken to be fired again, the supervisor took a second look at them and said, "This one might take a little longer to burn. It's solid inside." Both of them nodded. Yi Qianqian was filled with anticipation. Looking at the time, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yi Qianqian's stomach was growling with hunger. She had no choice but to leave the art gallery to find a place to eat. However, Yi Qianqian really didn't feel like eating spaghetti anymore. Ever since she came here, almost every meal had been spaghetti. Although the taste was not bad, it was not the taste of his motherland, so he was not used to it. After searching around with Shen Jilia, they finally found a Japanese restaurant. The restaurant was opened by Japanese people. As soon as they entered, they could feel the strong Japanese atmosphere. The waiters inside were also yellow-skinned and looked like they were Japanese. They wore kimonos and smiled warmly at them. "Are you too Japanese?" the girl asked in English. Shen Jilia shook his head. "He's from Huaxia." The waiter immediately understood. He handed over the menu and took out a tablet. Yi Qianqian ordered some of her favorite dishes. When she looked up, she saw a woman holding a child's hand as she walked past. The woman's belly was very big. She looked like she was a few months pregnant. She was on the phone. She was from China. "What about the child? I can't take care of him alone." Yi Qianqian couldn't hear anything else, but she looked at her belly. If she was alone, she wouldn't be able to take care of a child. Subconsciously, Yi Qianqian thought back to last night. It seemed like they didn't take any precautions. The hotel didn't even have condoms, let alone birth control pills. She glanced at Shen Jilia, who was looking at the menu. It was obvious that he hadn't noticed the woman who had just passed by. Yi Qianqian stood up and said, "I'm going to the bathroom." "Okay," Shen Jilia replied and continued to order. He didn't notice that Yi Qianqian walked out of the private room. He asked the girl at the front desk, "Excuse me, where can I buy medicine?" "Medicine? Are you not feeling well?" "We have cold medicine here, and we also have a special lounge for you." "No, I have a situation and need to find a pharmacy." Are you on your period? We can also provide you with things you need urgently." Yi Qianqian was a little embarrassed. This Japanese restaurant service was too good. She couldn't possibly tell them that she hadn't used any protection last night and was going to the pharmacy to buy birth control pills now, could she? She hesitated for a moment and shook her head in embarrassment. She waved her hand and said, "Forget it." Under the astonished gaze of the waiter, Yi Qianqian returned to the private room dejectedly. Shen Jilia had finished ordering. Yi Qianqian had just sat down when she heard a knock on the door. It was the same waitress from before. She came in and bowed before saying, "Miss, I asked my colleagues. There's a pharmacy nearby." Chapter 17:17. Yi Qianqian had the urge to kill the waitress. When she saw Shen Jilia's face, she smiled awkwardly but didn't know what to say. What the hell? The waitress saw Yi Qianqian's embarrassment and immediately felt that she had done something wrong. He looked at Yi Qianqian with uncertainty and inquiry. Shen Jilia also looked at Yi Qianqian with a questioning gaze. He asked, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? I'll take you to the hospital." "I'm fine." Yi Qianqian felt extremely awkward. "Didn't we have sex last night? I was thinking that we didn't take any safety precautions. It would be bad if I got pregnant. So, I wanted to find a pharmacy and buy a birth control pill to take." As she spoke, her cheeks became redder and redder. She looked at the waitress and asked, "Where is the pharmacy? We'll go and have a look after we finish eating." The waitress felt a little guilty. She thought for a moment and said, "It's at. No need." Shen Jilia waved his hand. "Thank you. Go ahead. I need to buy some ointment." Yi Qianqian smiled kindly. The waitress gave her the address and left. "What medicine?" It's not good for a woman's health. An abortion is even worse. Yi Qianqian picked up her teacup and took a sip. It's better to be safe than sorry. You won't get pregnant even if you take it within 24 hours. Shen Jilia pursed his lips and picked up his teacup to take a sip. It would be great if she really got pregnant. He would make sure that she gave birth to the child no matter what. A woman couldn't give birth to a child without a husband. Could she? If everyone knew that she was pregnant and he proposed to her, she would be in a difficult position. She would have no choice but to comply. But such a despicable method could only be used once. It wasn't the right time yet. Just as Luo Ran had said, if he were to push her too hard, it might backfire. After eating, Yi Qianqian took Shen Jilia to the pharmacy that the waitress had mentioned. It was a big pharmacy. It wasn't small. Yi Qianqian went straight in and asked the pharmacist inside to get the contraceptive pill. After taking it on the spot, she turned around and found that Shen Jilia had disappeared. She called out to Shen Jilia before he slowly walked out of the room. Yi Qianqian was still holding 2 Durex condoms in her hands. Her face turned red as she stared at them. You. It's not good to take medicine. Shen Jilia placed it on the counter and pointed at Yi Qianqian. He took out his wallet and asked, "How much is it?" The receptionist glanced at Yi Qianqian before placing the condom on the bill. After paying the bill, Shen Jilia carried the shopping bag, and Yi Qianqian walked in front. Suddenly, Yi Qianqian turned around. Shen Jilia stopped in his tracks. Yi Qianqian seemed particularly shy that day. Her face was always pink. Shen Jilia found her even more beautiful. He reached out and pinched her cheeks. What's the matter? Let's not go back to the art gallery. The clay still needs to be baked anyway, and we can only color it tomorrow. Where are we going? I'm sleepy. Let's go back to sleep. Shen Jilia was actually very sleepy. He had been a little agitated the previous night and hadn't fallen asleep until after midnight. He had been woken up by such a troublesome matter early in the morning. When he heard this, Shen Jilia nodded his head. All right. Let's go. Yi Qianqian looked at Shen Jilia. She then shifted her gaze down and grabbed the shopping bag. I'll take it. Let's go. Chapter 17-18. Back at the hotel, Yi Qianqian took a shower before climbing into bed. However, Shen Jilia was already fast asleep. He looked a little tired. Yi Qianqian quietly hid the condom she had just bought. If Shen Jilia asked her to do anything with him, she would just say that she didn't know where she had thrown the condoms. She wouldn't do it. After settling everything, Yi Qianqian covered him with the blanket and lay down with a yawn. He didn't sleep much last night, and neither did Yi Qianqian. All she could think about was what he had said. Getting married, meeting his parents. These weren't things they could do after confirming their relationship for just over half a month. Yi Qianqian felt that things were developing too quickly. The sense of security she had had was washed away by the rapid progress. Yi Qianqian felt that she was a little pretentious, but this was her first time in a relationship. Everything was very unfamiliar to her. Especially when she thought about how she had given all her firsts to him, and how Shen Jilia was obviously experienced, she felt even more uncomfortable. After sleeping with him, he kept saying that he wanted to marry her. Yi Qianqian couldn't help but wonder if he said that to all his girlfriends. Because of these thoughts, she couldn't sleep until the middle of the night. When she sensed that Shen Jilia had fallen asleep, she fell into a deep sleep. She was so sleepy that she pulled the blanket over her and closed her eyes. She slept until the evening. When Yi Qianqian woke up, Shen Jilia's arms and legs were on top of her. She tossed his arms and legs away in disgust and stretched. Before she could even finish yawning, Shen Jilia hugged her again. Not only did he hug her, but Shen Jilia also moved his head over and rubbed it against her chest twice. Yi Qianqian wasn't wearing any underwear. When she was rubbed against, she shivered all over. She pushed his big head away with both hands and turned around. She exclaimed, "Go away. Do you think you're a little kid?" Shen Jilia naturally noticed her sensitive reaction and looked at her with mischievous eyes. Yi Qianqian gritted her teeth and pushed his face away. She flipped over and quickly got off the bed. She scrambled out of the room. Shen Jilia laughed out loud. His body reacted in the most realistic way. But looking at her like this, he guessed that she was traumatized. She could not even walk properly today. Don't push her too hard. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. She's still a virgin. You have to hold it in no matter how much you want it. Don't give her a psychological scar. You'll lose more than you gain. Luo Ran's words were still echoing in his head. Shen Jilia had to get up and open the window. The wind on the water brought along cool water vapor. It was very comfortable. It was past 6 in the evening. The sky wasn't completely dark yet, and the lights weren't fully lit either. Looking out, it was a different kind of scenery. Every moment can capture the beauty. Yi Qianqian's beauty was as boundless as the night. He was the same. One day, he would make her want him no matter what. Yi Qianqian stayed in Venice for 5 days. In those few days, she spent all her time admiring Venice. Since it was free travel, they returned to Huaxia after reaching an agreement. However, the time difference between China and Venice was difficult to adjust. It was 10 o'clock in the evening when they arrived in Kingstown. Coincidentally, it was a normal person's work and rest time. But at that time, they had just woken up. Yi Qianqian felt aggrieved when she thought of the time difference. Chapter 17-19. As soon as they got back, Shen Jilia helped Yi Qianqian pack her suitcase while Yi Qianqian went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. After the shower, Yi Qianqian was in high spirits. As she dried her hair, she walked out and called out, "Shen Jilia, it's still early. Let's go watch a movie." However, when he walked out, he found his suitcase in the middle of the living room. There were also 2 safety TS in the middle. Wasn't that the thing she had been hiding for days? Other than that night when Yi Qianqian took the initiative to do it with Shen Jilia, she used this as an excuse to avoid him. Shen Jilia was lying on the sofa playing with his phone. When he saw Yi Qianqian, he looked at her meaningfully and said, "Sure. Let's go watch a movie." Yi Qianqian was a little embarrassed. She laughed and said, "Let's go then. Put on your shoes. I'll go see what's so interesting." As he spoke, he walked over and kicked the suitcase with his foot. The suitcase immediately closed. Shen Jilia could tell from her smile that her guilty conscience was asking for a beating. He got up, put on his shoes, and walked to the bathroom. He picked up his phone and sent a message to Luo Ran. "Shen Jilia. There's a situation. I bought a few safety tanks a few days ago, but I couldn't find them. I thought I'd left them somewhere and forgot to take them. I didn't expect my girlfriend to hide them." Luo Ran was having a great time in the bar. The colorful lights were accompanied by the hot DJ, and he was dancing with hot beauties. He did not feel his phone vibrate at all. Shen Jilia waited for a moment. When Luo Ran didn't reply, he put his phone away. Yi Qianqian chose a movie. It was a Disney blockbuster that had recently become very popular. Yi Qianqian had always been a fan of Disney. She asked Shen Jilia for permission before she bought the tickets. Halfway through his computer, Shen Jilia's cell phone suddenly rang. There weren't many people watching the late-night movie. Yi Qianqian was munching on popcorn and laughing as she watched the movie. Shen Jilia leaned over and whispered, "I'm going out to take a call." Yi Qianqian glanced at it and saw 2 words clearly. Luo Ran. "Oh, go ahead." Shen Jilia quickly left. Yi Qianqian wondered why the name Luo Ran sounded so familiar. By the time Shen Jilia walked out, the line had already been cut off. When he called back, Luo Ran was very quiet. "Hey, what's going on?" Luo Ran was lying on the bed, feeling very comfortable. Shen Jilia was about to speak when he heard a woman's voice. "Ran, I'm going to take a shower." "Okay, I'll wait for you." Luo Ran's voice was very gentle, and then there was the sound of kissing. Shen Jilia was speechless. He knew that Yi Yuyu must have asked another girl out. If he wasn't at the hotel, then he was at the girl's house. "I say, can you calm down and find a girlfriend? Don't fool around outside all day. Be careful of getting sick." "I only do it with women who look clean. How pure can a girl who goes to a bar be? Besides, I know how to take precautions. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. What's the situation with you?" Didn't I tell you on WeChat just now? She's the one who hid the condoms. She's been rejecting me with the excuse that she doesn't want to take the medicine. Was it your girlfriend's first time with you? Yes. Chapter 17:20. Do it. Ahem. Shen Jielia wanted to, but Yi Qianqian didn't want to, so he couldn't say anything. In his heart, he felt as if he had picked her up from the streets that night. He had swallowed such a great advantage. It was like a pie falling from the sky. I don't think she'll agree. If she doesn't agree, then think of a way. What are you doing now? I'm watching a movie. I came out halfway to answer the phone. Shen Jielia looked around as he spoke. You're still watching a movie so late? Luo Ran glanced at his phone. It's almost midnight. What are you going to do after the movie? Maybe we're going to have supper and then go back. Don't eat too much. Your stomach can't take it later. Then what should I do? Threaten and bribe her to see how she reacts. If she really doesn't want to, then there's nothing you can do. It only means that your man isn't very charming. Is that even possible? There's nothing you can do. You really want to be with her. If you want to run away after sex, that's fine. But if you don't handle it well, it'll be over. I can't bear to see you become a living monk after you've finally broken through from being a virgin. Shen Jielia was speechless. He felt that it was a waste of effort to find this guy today. That's it. I'm going to take a shower. My baby is still waiting for me, Luo Ran said and then hung up the phone. Shen Jielia had no choice but to walk back to the cinema in the dark. There were many classic Disney movies with classic themes. This was a romantic love story remade from an anime. The ending was, of course, that the hero and the heroine lived happily together. Shen Jielia held her hand. When the movie ended and the lights were turned on, he clearly saw the expression on Yi Qianqian's face. Longing and yearning. Looking at Shen Jielia, Yi Qianqian quickly stood up. Let's go back for supper. What do you want to eat? Let's eat something light. How about porridge? Yi Qianqian tugged at his arm. She was in a good mood. Shen Jielia naturally had no objection. The cinema was not far from where they lived, and there were many supper shops nearby. The two of them walked into a porridge shop. Yi Qianqian ordered some barbecue and porridge and ate with relish. It was late at night, and Yi Qianqian didn't dare to eat her fill. She stuffed the rest of the food into Shen Jilia's hands. As Yi Qianqian watched Shen Jilia eat, she rested her face in her hands and remarked, "This is the benefit of having a boyfriend." It was obvious that Shen Jilia was being bullied, but he gladly endured it. He accepted his fate and ate a lot. When he got home, it was already 1 o'clock. When Yi Qianqian got home, she went straight to her room and changed into her pajamas. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, and put on a facial mask to play with her phone. When Shen Jilia came out of the shower, Yi Qianqian happened to remove her mask. Yi Qianqian washed her face and put on some lotion before falling asleep. Shen Jilia stood outside and looked at Yi Qianqian's room before looking at his own room. Finally, he turned his head and opened the suitcase in the middle of the living room. He picked up a condom and opened it before walking into Yi Qianqian's room. Yi Qianqian hadn't locked the door. When she heard the commotion, she looked over and blinked. "Are you sleeping here tonight? Okay, let's go together." "What about your room?" "It's empty." Shen Jilia walked over and lifted the blanket off her. He hugged her and hugged her. Chapter 17:21. You can't sleep. Shen Jilia laughed viciously. Yi Qianqian felt her body, which was supposed to be exhausted, suddenly become arrogant again. "You!" Before Yi Qianqian could say anything, she was pulled down by Shen Jilia. It started too late, and when it finished, it was already past midnight. Yi Qianqian felt as if all the bones in her body were about to break, and she fell into a deep sleep. When Yi Qianqian woke up, she opened her eyes and saw that the room was bright. She woke up with a start and picked up her cell phone to check the time. It was already 10 in the morning. "Oh my God!" Yi Qianqian immediately scrambled to her feet. It was only when she moved that she realized how uncomfortable she was. The commotion woke Xueqi up. When he saw Yi Qianqian's movements, he leaned lazily against the headboard and pulled her over. Yi Qianqian fell into his arms. "Hey, I'm late for work." Yi Qianqian pushed him away, but he tightened his grip on her and said, "I've applied for leave for you. If you don't believe me, check your WeChat." Yi Qianqian picked up her phone and opened WeChat. She immediately saw that the first message was sent to their chief editor. "Sisai, boss, I just came back from Venice last night. I'm still jet-lagged. Let's rest for another day. Scariest boss. Okay. Rest well." Yi Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. She immediately collapsed onto the bed and nestled herself in Xueqi's arms. "She scared me to death. If I didn't tell her, who knows how badly she'd scold me later. I've said it now. Don't be afraid." Xueqi supported her. "It's time to get up. If you continue to sleep, you won't be able to sleep again tonight." "Yeah. I'm going to nap a little longer." Yi Qianqian was naked. She pulled up the blanket and closed her eyes. Xueqi, on the other hand, wasn't so well behaved. His hands were all over the place. Yi Qianqian was still in a daze. She pressed his hand onto her body and said, "Stop it. Go to sleep." "What do you want to eat?" "I don't want to eat, shut up." Xueqi calmed down. He held her in his arms and closed his eyes. Both of them slept until noon, and it was almost lunchtime before they got up together. After washing up, Yi Qianqian's entire body ached. She leaned lazily on the sofa, unwilling to move. "What would you like to eat?" Xueqi sat down beside her. "Shall we go out to eat?" "I don't want to move." Yi Qianqian was paralyzed even more. She rested her leg on his. "You can order takeout. I'm not very hungry. My legs are sore." "I'll rub. Here. A little higher. Here. Go down a little. Here. Yes. And my hands and back." Xueqi gave her a massage and looked at her neck. It was covered with the marks that he had left behind, and it looked somewhat hideous. Yet, he found it pleasing to the eye. He rubbed her back contentedly, and his mind began to fantasize about the future. Last night, he had deliberately delayed the time. What if she was really pregnant? When that happened, Yi Qianqian wouldn't be able to leave even if she wanted to. Yi Qianqian leaned back on the sofa and looked at the expression on his face. She asked suspiciously, "What are you thinking about?" Such a sinister expression. Xueqi felt that his naughty thoughts had been exposed, and he immediately became alert. He coughed lightly. "What are you thinking about? You have such a handsome face. How is it sinister?" Chapter 17:22. Tui. Shameless. As Xueqi pinched it, he leaned over and said, "If I wasn't handsome, would you have taken a fancy to me?" "TSK, I haven't eaten yet. Don't disgust me. What do you want to eat?" "Anything." Yi Qianqian narrowed her eyes. Just as she said that, her cell phone rang. She glanced at the phone and saw that it was Yi Yuyu. Ever since Yi Yuyu had gotten together with Li Jinnan, she had been living with him. Yi Qianqian was envious of Yi Yuyu. She picked up the phone and answered, "Hello? Sister, are you back in Kingstown? I just arrived last night. What's up?" "Well, I'm going back to my hometown tomorrow. Come with me. Anan has to go home to discuss the wedding with Dad and the guests. I think it'll be better if you're there." Yi Yuyu's belly was growing bigger by the day. The wedding, which was originally scheduled for November, had already begun to take care of the details. By the time November rolled around, Yi Yuyu's belly would be 4 months pregnant. It would be difficult to hide a 4-month pregnant belly. Well, Yi Qianqian wanted to go, but when she recalled that she hadn't been to work for so many days, she declined. Yi Yuyu was a little disappointed. After hanging up, she got up and walked around. Her morning sickness had subsided, but her legs were getting sore. She went to lift the lid of the rice to cool it down. After Yi Yuyu brought the dishes out, the doorbell rang. She looked at the time. It was exactly 12:30 p.m. When she opened the door, Li Jinnan's face appeared in front of her. Yi Yuyu broke into a smile. You're back. Li Jinnan took a step forward and gently wrapped his arm around her shoulders. He planted a gentle kiss on her forehead. Yeah. What are we having today? Crispy fried pork ribs and steamed san fu bao. And soup. Li Jinnan walked in with his arm around her and closed the door. I'd better call Auntie Zhang back. You're working too hard. I have nothing to do at home every day, so all I can do is cook. In the afternoon, I'll look at the wedding decorations. It's not hard at all. Li Jinnan washed his hands helplessly, but his face was filled with happiness. You've worked hard, wifey. Yi Yuyu smiled sweetly. She scooped some rice for him and placed it in front of him. Li Jinnan picked up his chopsticks. As he picked up some food, he said, Mom wants you to stay at home. That way, you'll have someone to take care of you while you're pregnant. Yi Yuyu paused in the act of eating. Stay at home? Old mansion? Yes, Dad has retired recently and has nothing to do at home. Mom has lost a lot of freedom, so I can only ask you to go back to accompany her. I don't think it's a good idea. Isn't your sister-in-law also pregnant? She should be more than 4 months pregnant now. Is she living at home? No. But Nanny Rong is at Yushio's place, and the 2 kids are very smart and know how to take care of their mother. You are always home alone, so you will be bored. Yi Yuyu had been struggling lately, especially when she couldn't wake up in the morning. She hadn't even made breakfast. Other than designing the wedding layout, he spent the rest of the afternoon sleeping. When it was past 4 o'clock, she forced herself to buy groceries and cook so that Li Jinnan could have a hot meal when he returned. It was indeed a little tiring, but staying at the old mansion. Chapter 17:23. No. Stay at home. It's best if you move back to the old mansion. Mom can stay at home and accompany Grandpa. Yi Yuyu shook her head. I'm not going. Your mom doesn't like me. That's not true. Li Jinnan slowly ate his meal. At that time, we weren't married yet, so she wouldn't agree no matter what. Now that we're married, and we're even pregnant with a grandson, how could she not like you? I don't like you. If that's the case, it can't be considered as liking. I'm just passively accepting it. In any case, I'm not going. Yi Yuyu was traumatized by Qin Shuhua. Especially the last time she had said to her face that not only was she married, but she had also been in prison. How could she want a girl like that? Although Yi Yuyu didn't say it out loud, she still minded what she had said. Li Jinnan naturally knew that as well. Yeah, up to you. Yi Yuyu replied. I'll go back to the old mansion when I'm a little older. Why don't you wait until after the wedding? There's still 2 more months. That's enough time for me to do some mental work for my mom. Yi Yuyu couldn't help but nod her head. 2 months wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. Yi Yuyu's belly swelled up as if it had been inflated. It had been 4 months. As long as she wore loose clothes, it wouldn't be obvious. But her face had obviously put on some weight. Her cheeks had become round, and her complexion was rosy and tender. Her skin was especially good. When she woke up early in the morning, she had to get her makeup done. Yi Yuyu was so sleepy that she dozed off as she did her makeup. Li Jinnan had spent a lot of money on the wedding. A row of luxury cars stretched from the front of the town to the back. Almost everyone in Yun Town had come to join in the fun. Fang Tongtong was at Yi Qianqian's house. When she saw Yi Qianqian and Yi Yuyu, her face was full of envy. She said, You're so lucky. All the men you find are so outstanding. Ah, when will it be my turn? Yi Yuyu was dozing off. Yi Qianqian was beside her. As she arranged the bouquet, she said with a look of disdain, The world is fair. Everything depends on looks. When Fang Tongtong heard that, she was immediately unhappy. She glared at her and said, How can you be like that? Bestie? Humph. How unkind. As she spoke, she looked around. Where's your boyfriend? He didn't come. Yi Qianqian glanced at her. My sister is getting married. Why would she come to the bride's room? Of course, she's in Kingstown. Haha, I thought he'd be with you. I see that he's very attached to you. He asks about you every second he doesn't see you. Sigh. He's so handsome and so affectionate. Yi Qianqian, you're really lucky. Yi Qianqian was even more disgusted. What kind of taste do you have? Is Shen Jilia handsome? F*CK, you don't know how lucky you are. You have no idea how many people in the town envied you. But now, I think they'll be even more envious of your sister. Look at how generous she is. Yi Qianqian tied up the bouquet. When she heard that, she felt a little strange. I'm not envious of her anymore. I'm envious of Yu. Is it because of Li Jinnan's extravagance? However, Li Jinnan was indeed very rich. Based on the luxury cars and the extravagant decorations of the wedding, Shen Jilia reckoned that it would be hard for him to keep up. Chapter 17:24. Yi Yu woke up with a start. She looked at Yi Qianqian with sleepy eyes and asked, "Are you here? Can I go home and sleep now?" Feng Tongtong laughed out loud. "No, but your man is indeed arriving soon. Get up and get the makeup artist to touch up your makeup." Yi Yu sat down and felt much more energetic. Yi Qianqian stuffed the bouquet into Yi Yu's hands. Then, the phone on the dresser rang. It was Shen Jilia. It was past 8 in the morning. Shen Jilia had probably just woken up. "Hello. Has the wedding carriage set off?" "No, the groom hasn't arrived yet." "Oh, when are you coming back?" "You've been gone for 3 days." Shen Jilia sounded a little aggrieved. "I can only eat takeout when you're not around." "Poor thing." Feng Tongtong leaned over. "Is it your boyfriend again?" Yi Qianqian couldn't help but smile. She flung Feng Tongtong aside and said, "What do you mean by again?" "Io, it's only been a few days, and you've made more than a dozen calls a day. If you tie them together, I'll just count you 2. There was a hint of jealousy in Feng Tongtong's voice as she yelled into the phone. "Do you know that you're a good-for-nothing when you're so clingy to women?" Shen Jilia smiled when he heard that. "What do you mean by promising?" "Having a woman is already very promising." When Feng Tongtong heard some of it, she was so envious and jealous that she was about to go crazy. "Oh my God, Yi Qianqian, you're so lucky." Yi Qianqian pushed her away. "Go away. Don't cause trouble." Then he took the phone and went to the side to make a call. Shen Jilia laughed. "She's your best friend, isn't she? She's quite fun to play with." "Isn't that so?" "It's just that he's too otaku. His circle is too small, so it's hard for him to get a girlfriend." "Bring her to the wedding later." Li Jinnan's friends are all famous people in the business world or artists from his company. Let her pick a few. Pick a few? Do you think she's a god? She doesn't like the good ones, and she doesn't like the bad ones either. Sigh. Ha ha ha, Yu is pregnant. You have to look after her. By the way, I have good news for you. What? Shen Jilia smiled mysteriously. I won't tell you now. I'll tell you when you get home tonight. What? Why are you being so mysterious? Guess. Yi Qianqian thought about it, but she still couldn't figure out what good news he had for him to keep her in suspense. The groom is here. Feng Tongtong shouted. Yi Qianqian looked out the window. When she saw the luxury cars approaching, she said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. The bride is here." "Okay, see you later." Bye-bye. "I missed you," Shen Jilia said softly. Yi Qianqian was caught off guard. Her heart skipped a beat, but she quickly pursed her lips and smiled quietly. She hung up the phone and hurriedly joined the group of bridal sisters. It was Li Jinnan's first time receiving a bride, so he was a little nervous. She heard that when Yu Lily got married, Yi Qianqian had come up with a lot of bad ideas to make things difficult for O Ming. She was mentally prepared. First, he gave her a big red packet and said some nice words. Perhaps it was because Yi Yu was pregnant, but unexpectedly, Yi Qianqian didn't make things difficult for him. She quickly released the bride. Yi Yu was led out by Yi Zhenhua. She walked gently, but every step she took seemed to step on Li Jinnan's heart. Chapter 1725. Li Jinnan nodded. I will, Dad. In fact, Li Jinnan had already changed the way he addressed him, but at this time, the meaning of Dad was completely different. Yi Zhenhua chuckled. His face was full of emotion. He nodded again and again. Then, he put his daughter's hand in Li Jinnan's and turned to Yi Yuyu. Remember to come home often. Although Yi Yuyu had been married twice, in her previous marriage, other than a marriage certificate, there was no other wedding ceremony, wedding photos, relatives, or anything else. This was the first time she had been treated so seriously. Yi Yuyu's eyes were burning, and her heart was warm. She looked at Yi Zhenhua and nodded. Yi Zhenhua patted Li Jinnan on the shoulder. Go! Li Jinnan nodded and held Yi Yuyu's hand as they walked toward the wedding car. Yi Qianqian watched from the side, and her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Yi Zhenhua was old. His hair had turned white, and his back was hunched. He looked very old. Yi Qianqian walked forward and held Yi Zhenhua's hand. Dad, I'm still here. Yi Zhenhua smiled. You'll get married sooner or later. Xilia is a good guy. I guess you'll be taken away by him soon. Humph, it won't be that easy. I don't want to get married so soon. It's boring. You're already 26, and Xilia is 27. The age gap between the two of you isn't that big. However, a man is a flower in his 30s, but a woman is a different story. You still have to hurry up. No. I want to get married when I'm 28. I've been with Xilia for less than 3 months. If I get married, wouldn't it be a flash marriage? What if he doesn't cherish me? Yi Zhenhua thought about it and nodded his head. That's true. We shouldn't rush it. It won't be too late to get married after 2 years. Yeah. Yi Qianqian was very proud. The best time to be in a relationship is 2 to 3 years. At that time, it's time to get married. If we get married too early, it'll be a divorce in the future. That'll be terrible. Yi Zhenhua glared at her reproachfully. Don't speak so soon. I can tell that Xilia is serious about you. If you really don't like him, don't hold him back. Of course not. If I didn't like him, I wouldn't have dated him. I just don't want to get married. Yi Qianqian waved her hand. Dad, don't bother yourself with our trivial matters. Yi Zhenhua looked on helplessly. It's good that you have your own ideas. With that he walked in. Feng Tongtong walked forward and nudged Yi Qianqian. She said, You've only been dating him for 3 months. I thought the two of you had been dating for a long time. It's no wonder. 3 months is still a fresh period of love. No wonder he's so attached to you. Yeah. In truth, Yi Qianqian didn't feel very safe around him. She had seen this kind of situation many times. In the beginning, a man would always have that kind of impulse towards a woman, but when that impulse passed, the feelings would slowly fade. Since the two of you have been together for so long, have you done that? Feng Tongtong smiled suggestively and nudged her. Yi Qianqian pretended not to understand. What? That. I don't know what you're talking about. Chapter 1726. That's impossible. Yi Qianqian glanced at her. I know what I'm doing. When she was with Shen Jilia, she would never do it with him unless he wore a condom. That was her principle. During this period, she had a tight control over the pace. She refused to do it during the 2 days before and after her period. She refused to do it during the dangerous period, so there was no chance of getting pregnant. This was her responsibility to herself, and also to him. When Feng Tongtong saw Yi Qianqian's expression, she became even more envious. If you can have a man with such a strong personality, why can't I? Because you're ugly. Feng Tongtong almost jumped up and strangled her. Get lost. Yi Qianqian laughed out loud. Let's go to Kingstown. Yi Yuyu's wedding was very grand. It was not only a happy occasion for Li Jinnan, but it was also a happy occasion for the entire Li family. Many high-ranking officials and dignitaries came just for the sake of old Master Li Sun's reputation. As a result, they received a lot of gifts. Because many of the guests were elders, Li Jinnan had to personally welcome them to show his courtesy as a junior. Because Yi Yuyu was pregnant, Li Jinnan chased her in after standing outside for a while. Li Xiqing and his family arrived late. Li Mosen and Li Jianyue walked side by side. One was calm and quiet like a little adult, while the other was lively and innocent. Li Jianqian, who had just returned from the capital for the summer break, held Su Chenxi's hand and walked slowly. As he walked, his eyes were fixed on his mother's stomach. Li Xiqing held his wife's arm. When he saw his son's expression, he said impatiently, "Be careful, or your sister will kick you." When Li Jianyue heard that, she turned her head and blinked. She walked over with a smile and raised her little foot at Li Jianqian. "Big brother, I'm going to kick you." Li Jianqian held her back. "Daddy wasn't talking about you. He was talking about the little sister in Mommy's stomach." "Why? How can you tell it's a little sister?" Li Jianyue widened her eyes and looked closer. "I didn't see a little sister. I only saw Mommy's stomach." Li Jianqian couldn't help but smile. "How can you tell? You have to give birth to it to see." "Oh. Then how did Big Brother know it's a little sister?" "Dad said so." "How did Dad know?" Li Jianyue turned her curious gaze to Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing's expression did not change. He glanced at his daughter and slowly said, "Because Daddy hopes that the little baby in Mommy's belly is a little girl as cute as Ursu." Li Ursu nodded in understanding and said, "But father, didn't you say that we will only know when mother gives birth? What if she gives birth to a little brother? Does Ursu like little boys?" Su Chenxi bent down and touched her daughter's little head. Li Jianyue nodded. "Yeah, Ursu likes little brother. I think little brother will definitely be like dad and little uncle in the future. He will be a very good brother. Brothers are not one, they are a pair." Li Jinnan came up and rubbed the little girl's fluffy head. Then he looked at Su Chenxi's belly. "Sister-in-law, your belly is growing so fast." Chapter 17:27. That kind of thing, just experiencing it once, Su Chenxi could not bear it anymore. If it happened again, she might really go crazy. "There won't be a second time." Li Xiqing's tone was very firm. He took his wife's hand and said, "Let's go in." Li Jinnan watched from the side with mixed feelings. It was not easy for Li Xiqing and Su Chenxi to be able to be together now. Li Jinnan was very clear about the twists and turns. Only the people involved would know how difficult it was to achieve such a feat. The guests came and went. Many of them saw the three little guys. Their eyes were shining. They pinched one and hugged the other. At first, the two boys were willing to cooperate. But after 3 times, they immediately ran away. In the end, even Li Jianyue couldn't take it anymore. She hugged her parents' arms and pouted, unwilling to go out. Li Xiqing didn't stop them. Seeing the little girl like that, he smiled and said slowly, "If you don't want to, remember to reject it yourself. Daddy and Mommy can't always help you. Do you know what to do next time you encounter such a situation?" Li Jianyue pouted even higher and said, "Humph, those uncles and aunties don't understand us at all. Although I'm a child, my face still hurts. No one will understand you. If you don't reject it, others will only think that you agree. At this time, you should tell them that you don't like it, so please ask them to stop pinching you." The little girl didn't say anything. She pinched the red tablecloth on the table and rubbed it. She pouted and lowered her head. It was obvious that she was depressed. Su Chenxi touched her daughter's little head and took the juice that Li Xiqing had just poured for her. "Ursu, do you want something to drink?" "Yeah." Li Jianyue's eyes immediately lit up and took it with both hands. Li Jianqian and Li Mosen went in to take refuge for a long time. They hid for more than 10 minutes before they dared to come out. They came to Li Jianyue's side in a hurry. When Li Ursu saw them, she was even more unhappy. She swallowed the juice and said loudly, "Big brother is a bad guy. He put me down and left. Big brother Mosen is also a bad guy." Li Jianqian's expression didn't change as he replied, "It's your own fault for not leaving. You're the one at a disadvantage. We're not stupid. Of course we have to leave." Li Mosen nudged Li Jianqian and said, "Brother Mosen knows his mistake. I'll definitely bring you along next time." Li Jianyue put down the glass of juice and snorted, "There won't be a next time. Next time, I will reject these annoying uncles and aunties." Don't pinch my face again. The little guys did not hide their voices at all. The men and women who had just pinched them were a little embarrassed. Li Mosen pulled her back and said, "Don't speak so loudly." "Why?" Li Jianyue didn't quite understand. Li Jianqian found a chair and sat down. "Don't make a lot of noise in public." "Oh." When Li Jianyue saw this, she ran over and sat down next to Li Jianqian. She placed her chubby little hands on the table and shouted, "Brother Mosen, come and sit." When Li Mosen heard that, he walked over, but Li Jianyue no longer looked at him. Instead, she looked at Li Jianqian and asked, "Brother, is the capital fun? Was Grandpa and Grandma fun?" You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.